Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, and it is the Demetra K Show, where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even because we are great people, but there's always room for improvement. I'd like to say a big giant hello and welcome and thank you to YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation. You all are not just viewers, you are participants where we read your comments. I have to change it up. And I used to read every comment, but we got, quite a few people on here, which is a good thing. We are growing. And I want to say thank you to all of you guys who continue to stick around for my nonsense and Donovan's nonsense. But yeah, we are growing. So we're going to try to read everybody's comment at least a few times in between our commentary. Also like to say thank you to Marcus Guyton for everything he does behind the scene on Facebook and making the show go further. Today, we are going to talk about was Buffalo just a dress rehearsal for the midterm main stage? And of course, I'm going to get into why I titled it that way. But Donovan, before we get started, what say you?
Hey, welcome everybody. If it is Sunday, as you guys know, it's Demetra K Day. So by the way, for all my veterans out there, tomorrow is Memorial Day. So let's take the time out and think about those who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we could be on platforms like this, or you guys can go out and get your cornbread and your collard greens at the local turkey hut, wherever you're going, because somebody's got to pay that price. So Memorial Day is tomorrow. So you guys, think about a veteran or a veteran within your home or somebody that might have already passed away. Even if it's old age. So let's give thanks to those who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we could be where we're at today. Do us a favor, but please like, share, subscribe. Do even better than subscribe. Become a member. We would love to have you here. So we're going to be talking about a lot today. There's a lot of stuff that the Democratic Party and Mr. Joe Biden has said that he couldn't do. But all of a sudden, he seems to be able to do it. We'll talk about it. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. So who do we have on here really quick? We have Logical People. How you doing? And Moni and Robin. And who else is on it? Thunder, Tracy, and Sean. So let me go ahead and get into my commentary and I'll try to circle back to your comments. If not, I will definitely catch up. So anyway, as you guys know, unfortunately, there's been, I think they said like 30 to 40 mass shootings since the beginning of the year. And I think they qualify mass shooting as 4 or more or 5 or more people shot and killed. And so there's been quite a few of those. Hi, Jafia and Aquarius Queen. How you doing? But as of recently, we had the Buffalo shooting. That was about 2 weeks ago. Buffalo, where 13 people were shot, 10 people were killed, and there were 10 Black people. And we saw, some outrage. Let's not, lie to kick it. There was outrage per se, right? It was outrageous, especially since a lot of those people killed in Buffalo were our elders within the community. Okay. So, of course, that was done by a white supremacist who had this manifesto and all of that. And a lot of things are starting to come out where it looks like Buffalo and Texas are connected because, some people in Texas, ex-law enforcement agencies or whatever it was, or officials were talking to the Buffalo shooter. So there's some entanglement, to use that word, going on. And so, of course, then last week, there was the Uvaldi, Texas massacre where I think it was 19 children that were murdered and 2 teachers, who were murdered by a gunman. And they were both 18 in both shootings that went into the classroom. And it said that the gunman was on the campus for like 90 minutes before local law enforcement would do anything. And in fact, it says that I guess it was federal agents or Border Patrol or somebody. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, it was a federal agency, Border Patrol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually went in there and they didn't have the training to do it, but they did it anyway. And so, of course, unfortunately, that happened. Okay. So now with this Uvaldi tragedy, where it would seem like it was all Hispanic people, from what I can see, that was murdered, you saw this outrage, but it was like outrage times 10, right? You saw and people tweeting and our elected officials, they weren't going to take it anymore. You saw Beto O'Rourke, who was running for the governor of Texas, go up into a meeting that the Republicans were having. And, he basically was, took a stand and interrupted the meeting and they called him all kind of names and things like that. We saw Sheila Jackson Lee, Beto O'Rourke, and a whole bunch of other people at the NRA's meeting that they actually had in Houston. And a whole bunch of people were out there. They were outraged. And this is enough. We need to get rid of guns. And you have the coach, I think it is, or the manager of the San Francisco Giants, I think it was. He said that he's no longer taking the field during the national anthem due to the gun violence or until they get something done. I remember when Kaepernick took a knee on the field and, all hell broke loose, and here he is still trying to find a team to play with. And who else do we have? So, LeBron James got called out. He got called out because he tweeted about the massacre in Uvaldi, but he didn't say anything about Buffalo. And so then he goes on to his Instagram, and then he posts a story saying, well, I'm still praying for the victims of Buffalo, right? And the families or whatever. But he had to be called out like, wait a minute. Like, your own people were murdered in Buffalo, but you didn't say anything, but you got all this outrageous stuff for people in Uvaldi. And listen, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be outraged in either situation, but I'm talking about specifically with Black people, because we've also heard people say, well, did we forget about Buffalo? What happened to Buffalo? And one guy tweeted, he says, it's funny how we talked about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock longer than we talked about what happened in Buffalo, which was a very true statement, right? People were like, oh, that's horrible, that's crazy, went away, and then Uvaldi happened. But I'm going to show you this, because this is kind of where I was going as my train of thought. Okay? So as you see here, this is within the last 2 weeks. So as you see, the one at the top that says Chicago shootings, 23 shot, 5 fatally in Memorial Day weekend violence, Chicago PD says. So that was this weekend, and the weekend is not over. Of course, you guys know it is Memorial Day. So we got 2 days, today and tomorrow. And this is just, I guess yesterday and Friday, I don't know, in Chicago. Okay, here. And this one says 15 shot, 4 fatally, 9 weekend shootings across New Orleans. And I want to say this one was from this weekend, or maybe it was last weekend. Don't quote me, but close, right? And then on the bottom, it says 14 shot, 6 killed in violent weekend in St. Louis City. And that was May 15th. Now, why do you guys think I brought up those cities, right? It's because predominantly those shootings take place in our communities. Now, in all of these things that I put up, it was multiple shootings, right? Multiple gunshot victims, some fatalities. Well, where was the goddamn outrage like we saw for Uvaldi? Again, I'm not taking anything away from Uvaldi, but where was the outrage when we heard that there was 15 people shot in New Orleans and going on Chicago 23 or any other inner city, Houston even, there's a lot of gun violence, but where was all it's enough, and we're protesting, we're not going out on the baseball field, and we're going to storm into Republicans talking about gun. Where was all that outrage then? All right, so let me talk about that. Sheila Jackson Lee, who is the congresswoman for Houston, Texas. So May 16th, shortly after the Buffalo massacre, she says the courageous act of taking action on HR 40 in the midst of this mass murder of African Americans in Buffalo will show the nation is standing up to racism and racism. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, HR 40 is the study of reparations bill that they've been trying to get passed through Congress. Yeah, it passed through the Senate, but the House, but the Senate is like, we're not even gonna do anything about it. So she evokes HR 40 to act like she's doing something. Like, okay, well, now that they done murdered 10 people, Black people in Buffalo, now it's time to, to really take HR 40, the study of reparations, seriously. It was a tweet. Now, can I ask y'all this? Did y'all see her with her bullhorn or her microphone on the steps of Congress saying, damn it, give my people reparations? We're tired of what's going on here in America with Black people. Y'all didn't see her do that, but you can pull a video of her doing that in Uvaldi. We get a tweet about the study of reparations, but they want to talk about, these gun laws have to change. And listen, I agree they do need to change to a degree. I do believe that there should be some background checks had. But as I said to Gary, I was talking to Gary Monroe last night about this because, he's pretty upset about it. And I said, these shootings are a good and a bad thing depending on who you talk about. So for the Republicans, it's a bad thing because they're not budging on trying to do something about controlling the way guns are distributed now. They're talking about building extra doors in the classrooms and all these other ridiculous things other than doing a background check. And then the Democrats have kind of low-key kind of gotten a Hail Mary because, of course, they're going to run away with this and say, see, the Republicans don't care. We're the party that cares. We want to get rid of gun violence because, you know, look at all these people who are dying. And so I say that the midterms are the main stage and there's a lot of performing going on because honestly, as far as Black people are concerned, none of these people care about Black people. They only care about cameras and opportunity and votes. What's going to get them to, you know, to remain in power or get them into Congress? And that's these hot ticket items. Black people are murdered every day. And you can argue who's doing the murdering of Black people, but it's still gun violence nevertheless. And, you know, we get a little blip, but that's about it. But everybody else, now all of a sudden we need to do this, that, and the other. So in closing of my monologue, I'd like to say, again, for the midterm elections, we really need to think long and hard about who we are sending to Congress. Think long and hard about that because right now, everybody's got on their best clown makeup and they're going to perform for you. We really care. We really want to make sure something is done. But as I showed y'all just a second ago, there's plenty of opportunity for you to do something in your own neighborhoods. A lot of these things happen in our own Congressional Black Caucus's neighborhood. What are they doing about it? But you want to wait till something happens to people that don't look like you to be outraged? Get the fuck out of here. Donovan?
Man, that's a lot. You said a lot. And let me just took some notes while you were talking, since you've been taking notes on me. And and a lot of what you said, I agree with, and it's true. But I just have a question. Do you think the reason why the incident in Texas, because I don't know if you guys remember, last week, I was one of the first people to come out and say enough is enough. My prayers and thoughts go with the people of Texas, because I didn't really know exactly. As you guys know, the police are liars. The story keeps changing as of their heroism, and we're spending money for these trained people to do what they're supposed to do, right? But how many of you guys know this, real quick? And it's just a sidearm. Do you know in 2005, under a Supreme Court Judge Anthony Scalia, who wrote the majority opinion, police are not obligated to worry about your safety? Since 2005, that was codified in law in 2005. You are responsible for your safety, because if you fell down in the street, then the police would be liable because they didn't look out for your safety. That was codified in law in 2005. So do you think because what the incident that happened in Houston, Texas, is because it was little kids versus 70, 60 and grown adults that happened in Buffalo? This is why a lot of people are, what happened in that little town and all this other stuff. Now, I was one of the first that said my thoughts and prayers go out to those people, but I don't have any tears. Because just like you just showed, I know there's a shooting and a killing in the Black community every day. I don't have time to cry for, other incidences that happen. My prayers go with them. I don't believe little children should be slaughtered and taken out and all that. I don't believe in that. But I don't have any tears to cry. And it isn't funny, when I said that, all of these people locally came for me. And it's like, wait a minute. We just had Buffalo people that just got shot. Black people up in Buffalo got shot. I didn't see not one of you people standing up for Black people. So that's something to think about. And do you think that when Black violence happens, is it because it's been normalized so much in our community that it's just another day? So those are my thoughts on that when it comes to stuff like that. And you're right about the midterms coming up. Didn't Joe Biden say on the campaign trail that, I'm going to go away with $50,000 worth of student debt? Then it became $10,000 all of a sudden because we found out that he's beholden to the Wall Street bankers. So He tells the black people, ain't nothing I can do for you guys. I can't do it by executive order. You got to go to Congress. And then Congress, Nancy Pelosi is saying, no, you can do it. There's all of a sudden now, he can write executive orders. Now, the DOJ Friday just came out with a memo and a policy in regards to police brutality. And it's basically telling the police that their standards have to be higher and better accountability and all this other stuff. Guess what that DOJ directive is applied to? Federal officers. It doesn't apply to the local street police officers. The problem is police street officers. Joe Biden also signed in a law enforcement policy in regards to the George Floyd Act. He did it by executive order. Now, we know executive orders could be pulled by the next administration. And that doesn't apply to local police departments. When was the last time you heard about the FBI chokeholding a brother and breaking him in half? When was the last time you heard a federal agency, the ATF, actually kicking the door down in somebody's house? We know Waco, Texas, but it's been a while. But it's a very rare occurrence. What he couldn't do, now he sees the writing on the wall, is that he can do. You guys keep your knees on their neck, because the Democrats, all they care about is power. And I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican. I'm a recovering Democrat. But the one thing about the Republicans we got to remember, and I'm almost done here, is we know what they're going to do. They're truthful. But just like Malcolm X said, and Demetra keeps saying constantly, the worst thing to happen to Black people, as you're seeing by their demonstrations of what they can do, is the lying liberal Democrat. That is the worst thing to happen to Black people, because the new Black media has been telling you guys exactly what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And we've been proven right since this new administration has taken place. It has been a disaster. Disney?
Yes, indeed, everybody. So, all right, it's comment section time. Who was on here? And I tried to put everybody's comment up that said hello. So hello to everybody. Wilbur, how you doing? Oh, Jafia, thank you. I like the shorter hair too. It's a lot cooler because Houston is too muggy for any amount of hair more than I already got my own hair. But yeah, so thank you. And Darius, how you doing? He says, greetings and blessings, Sis K, brother Sadiq, and chat room. Sis K, don't trip on Talib Kweli. He's entitled to his opinion. Be your own person and move on. I'm not tripping on Talib Kweli, but I actually like him. And, you know, his partner in crime is one day going to be my husband, I think, Mos Def, right? I've seen Mos Def in concert. I love Mos Def to death. But, you know, Talib came for me. I didn't come for Talib. He came for me. I was just commenting, and he basically said that I agreed with Nazis. And I'm like, well, point to the part of my comment that said that I agreed with Nazis is like, it's stupid, right? So anyway, Pioneer, how you doing? And June Naya, I hope I said that right. I probably did not. Wanaya, I think that's how you say it. He says, I know even Meghan Markle showed up to the incident. Yes. And I heard people were mad about that. It's like, but she, you know, she was really not even trying to be noticed. She just, I guess, showed up. Was it Uvaldi? I think it was, right? So yeah, she showed up, but I don't know if she showed up to Buffalo. And let's see here. And Letitia, if I didn't already, how you doing? He says, shalom, everyone. So much going on, family. Yes, indeed. Jafai says, one rifle was a few $1,000s and the protective gear was hundreds of dollars as well. Where do an 18-year-old get the money for their demonic behavior? Absolutely. And so now we're seeing more of a conversations of who he was actually talking to. So was he just kind of like the guinea pig, the scapegoat to go out there and do it? And he actually had somebody with a key in his back. I don't know. That's very telling. We're talking about that of Peyton Gendron, who killed our people in Buffalo. And Pioneer says, it's a damn shame, sis. It appears that the world is more outraged about the situation in Texas, not just because there are children involved, but those children look like their own. I mean, their children. Absolutely. They look closer to their own children. But, you know, of course, we as Black people have been more conditioned to care more about people who don't look like us than we are to care about our own, right? I mean, like I said, Buffalo was just like but this thing here, everybody's sick of it, you know, and I would really just got to do something. So absolutely. Huey P. Newton, how you doing, brother? He says, yes, I'm from Buffalo. We need to talk about and assist Buffalo. Yeah, we shouldn't. I mean, and you guys also heard about the teacher who was shot in Uvaldi. Her husband was so overcome with grief that he actually died of a heart attack a couple of days later. And they raised, I want to say, almost $2 million in a GoFundMe for their children. So, just kind of putting that out there. And Bevelin,
wait, did the money actually go to the family? Because Black Lives Matter raised over $90-something million, and yet the family still haven't.
No, it did. Because Black Lives Matter hadn't have anything to do with that at all. And let's see here in Bevelin, he says, I'm glad to hear this perspective. I've got questions as well. Well, bring them on. And the agitator, how you doing? You say, and hello, Black First Family. Yes, indeed. And who else is on here? Kid Gree Bo, how you doing? And Queen Abby, how you doing? Who else came on here? Angela, you say, how you doing? He says, those babies in Texas were absolutely, positively defenseless. No, absolutely. And listen, I'm not one of those people who say, who cares? I don't want to see anybody lose their life. And they were absolutely defenseless. And the defense was outside that didn't want to go in there and help them, right? And even their families were trying to go in and help, but the police standing out there would not allow the families to go in. And in some cases, they even handcuffed people who were, family members who were trying to get in. So it was just a devastation.
Yeah, there was one lady that actually went in and saved her 2 kids and a few other kids as well. She said, damn with that. So.
Yeah. And, and also those elderly people in Buffalo were defenseless as well. All the people that were shot in Buffalo, they were positively defenseless. I mean, if I'm going to go buy an apple and an onion at the store, I'm not thinking somebody's going to come and, off me. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking I'm going to go in and out, right? So they were defenseless as well. And I know the difference is it was mostly children opposed to the other ones, but, a life is a life, right? And Robin, how you doing? He says, not HR 40 again. It's a study. How many more years are they going to bring it up? It's a study. No, it's not a study. It's a carrot. It's a carrot that they dangle in front of Black people. Say, see, we're going to bring it up again when we see y'all backing away from us. We're going to bring it up to keep y'all, trying to bite the carrot. And then when they see that we like, okay, then they reel the carrot back in and be like, okay, show's over. And so, yes, Yanni, how you doing? And who else came on here? Aquarius Queen says, just give me my check so me and my family can leave. They can have this hell. Absolutely. A lot of people are saying that. And hello, Mr. Thunder. How you doing? It says Jackson Lee is going to lose her seat soon. She is full of crap. I'm still holding my vote. She did nothing for Buffalo, but Uvaldi, she shows up. Hold the vote, family. Yeah, she showed up hollering into a microphone about this, that, and the other. And as I said, y'all saw the tweet about Buffalo, but that wasn't for the victims in Buffalo. That was for us to say, hold on, Negroes. I'm going to bring up HR 40 again so y'all can say, look like we doing something for y'all. But that's
y'all get off the streets. If y'all just give us the House and y'all give us the Senate, we can get rid of qualified immunity. We can do all of that for y'all. Y'all just need to vote. We need to get more Democrats in there. We don't have the power.
Yep. And D. Wayne, how you doing? Or is it D. Juan? Am I saying it wrong? D. Juan, I hope I said it right. He says over 30 years that Crumby bill has been sitting there. Yeah, and it's going to sit there for 30 more unless we as Black people decide that we ain't taking it no more, right? And Beverly says, did Kamala steal your talking point? And which talking point was that? And if I didn't already, how you doing, Sean West? And let's see, here we go down to some of these other people's comment that may have come on here, because I want to make sure I get everybody. Manolo, how you doing? Now, where did his comment go? You say, millions and millions of angels have been dispatched to the earth to protect the children of Israel physically from the thermonuclear fire. This great miracle of God will shock the world. We would like to see it, and hopefully it doesn't entail, harming me. I just want to see it. How you doing, by the way? Pioneer says, I was just talking to someone else about this right before the live. Those Latino children in Texas look more like much of the children in the rest of the world, be they're Asian, Arab, Pakistani, etc. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, they look closer to their people than they do us.
Yeah, how many of you guys know that town is 83% Hispanic? The Black Authority talked about this yesterday. It's 83% Hispanic, and yet they have a white mayor. Think about that. And then the shooter of the thing, his family members, as if you go to the Black Authority, he points out that they are MAGA supporters. Isn't that strange?
Yes, indeed. And Robin, yes, it's nearly, when I saw it last, was about $1.6 million. And that was a couple of days ago. So I'd imagine it's close to about 2 million, or if not more now. So, and that they did that in a day. And I say a day, they did that in one day. Lois, how you doing? Say Talib is banned from Twitter for very good reasons. He instigates beef with women. Interesting. Yeah, he was accused of harassing a woman, browbeating her verbally over something she said to him, and he just would not let it go. And so Talib is kind of interesting. I mean, of course, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I just think if you're going to engage with people, engage honestly. Like, don't make stuff up on people because they don't agree with what you said. And it was over Candace Owens calling out Patrice Cullors. And I don't like either one of them, to keep it real with you. But, you know, he was trying to defend Patrice, basically saying that, oh, Candace is a Nazi. I'm like, well, they're both horrible women. But that doesn't give Patrice and Black Lives Matter a pass to steal money from people. It just doesn't. And of course, you know, he said, I sympathize with Nazis. And this is like.
Wait, didn't I see a Mein Kampf book in your directory?
You might. I read all kinds of stuff. Angela, you say BLM has expenses too.
5 houses. Wait, no, I think the total is like 8 houses across the nation. That's an expense that nobody else can use. The local chapters haven't received one dime. LGBTQ organizations, LMNOP organizations, got thousands of dollars. But Tamir Rice's mom never got any money. You name it. All the suffering families never got one dime. What about money to help them in their legal fees? Anybody think about that? Ben Crump needs to get paid.
Kid Grebo, one, how you, if I didn't already, I think I did. Hello. Says, I'm sensing xenophobia energy in this chat. Explain, please. How are you sensing that? And when you do explain, I want you to give your best explanation, because I do not want to eat your lunch. So I would like for you to explain, how are you seeing xenophobia activity in this chat? Please give it your best shot. How you doing, Sunlight? And you say, wonder if the parents were the back of the badge types. And what is that, back of the badge types? Pioneer says, it's obvious that the media has been very biased the way they've covered this massacre down in Texas compared to how they covered in Buffalo, immediately trying to make heroes out of the parents. Yeah, well, actually they was trying to make heroes out of the police, and the police, you know, didn't do anything but, you know, listen to
cowards.
Yes. Intermix Radio, how you doing? It says, do not give to Jim Crow Joe Biden. No, not at all. And April Lane, how you doing? It says, Black Lives Matter. Comment jumped up. Where did it go? Black Lives Matter has broke the bank, got their LGBTQ members in full local positions, and y'all still begging for the quasi check. Or so you talking about the quasi check as far as reparations? Is that where you're going with that one? Do tell. And Robin, you say, okay, got it. Now it's a carrot that they dangle in front of us. Got it. Yes, that's what HR 40 is, and everything else they say they're going to do for us. Manolo, he said this is
symbolism. We love the symbolism. Long as it has black on it and it doesn't do nothing for us, we love that. That our parents loved it, our grandparents loved it, because they came up in a generation where they believed having a black face in the right place is all you need. But now we see, like I've said several times, we have black people in all sorts of positions across this country. We've got mayors, police chiefs, senators, Congress people. Why are we in a worse state than we were 60 years ago? Think about it.
Manoli says, this is all written prophecy. You are just not aware. I keep telling you, listen to Elder how for more details, too much to write. I'm very aware. I may not know all that you know, but I think I'm aware enough to get by. You tell me, well, what do you think that I am not aware about? And Yatali, I hope I said that right, says Democrats. Yes, indeed. Letitia says every time they kill one of us, Yahweh takes 10 of them. All praises due to the Most High Yah. Okay, in Biblin, you say it's because of kids. They want to use it to say more sympathy is needed for the kids, not the black ones, and to guilt those of us whose hearts are still with Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, we got to ride with our people, right? And let's see here. April says Maxine, Sheila, and Warren have got to go. So you're talking about Elizabeth Warren. Hello, Michael M. How you doing? And Beverly says, the enough is enough. That Donovan said, she said it at the memorial service. Got it. William, how you doing? He says, greetings, everybody. Trying to enjoy your show, but my I think computer keeps buffering. It's killing me. Oh, I hate to hear that. Maybe reboot your computer or your phone or whatever it is that you're watching, because we want to have you here. And April says, because they identify as Caucasian in the census. Absolutely. I used to work for the census, and I know that to be true for a fact. Vivian, you say, they are not surprised. All right, so let me get down here. Sunlight, say, Talib is a punk. You said it, I didn't, you know. Pioneer says, but the police chief that town is either a black, Latino, or dark mestizo, and they're trying as hard as hell to blame him for that massacre down there. Okay. And Steiny, how you doing? Says, I've been stopped believing in them school shootings years ago. It makes no sense in my opinion. Okay. And in the mixed radio says the Hispanics definitely, I think you may identify as white, right along with others. I'm sorry, y'all. My comments keep jumping up. They weren't doing that before, but they started.
People are typing in. I mean, this is a very, very good topic. And like I said, we got to come up with ideas and solutions, you know.
Where did it go to? Okay, so it says, in the mixed radio, it says the Hispanic identify as white right along with other so-called minorities. Absolutely. And let me get down to the bottom. Mr. Don, how you doing? He says, hey, Demetra and Donovan, I hope your day is going well. Somebody says, what did the white people who run BLM get? What did they get? Well, I mean, this is the thing. I see my microphone. This is the thing. So when we study history, you guys look up the Big Six, and Malcolm X talked about the Big Six. It was 6 people, and including in that Big Six was Martin Luther King, John Lewis, I think it was Ralph Abernathy, and 3 other people they were the leadership of big organizations, right? And so they were invited to the White House by that of John F. Kennedy. And they said, listen, we know it's a volatile time here. Negroes want civil rights, and they want, you know, the brutality and all that to stop. And we're hearing about Black people wanting to go lie down on the tarmac at LaGuardia Airport. They really want to make it hard for everybody else. So what we're willing to do, the JFK administration, is to give you all collectively $1.5 million, which is a lot of money back then. And I think it was 1963. Collectively give y'all this money, and y'all go back and just pretend that you guys are seeking justice. Like, we don't care if y'all march in the streets, but lying down on the tarmac so planes can't land, that's an absolute no-no. Making it hard for white people and everybody else to do business and doing things like that, nah. But we're going to pay y'all to stop that. And so we also know that J. Edgar Hoover, who was the head of the FBI, said years and years ago, and all throughout his tenure as being head of FBI, that one of the greatest threats to America is Black unity. And also it is our job to stop the rise of a Black Messiah. And so what they have done throughout history go all the way back to that of Marcus Garvey, where the first Black FBI agent, they called him Agent 800, he was enlisted to help take down Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. And so what was Marcus Garvey trying to do? He was trying to unify Black people. Now ask yourself this: when did Black Lives Matter come into play? They came into play when Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and all the other people were starting to be murdered, right? They came in, and that was supposed to be the answer. So I don't know if BLM was sent or if BLM somehow got co-opted by white people. But we've seen that play out in history. They co-opt these organizations to say, listen, we know that they're killing Black boys and innocent Black people. We want to keep the lid on what's about to pop. So listen, y'all go in there and talk about marching. It's the same playbook that we gave to MLK and John Lewis and all of them. Go in there and act like you're, chanting Black Lives Matter, but don't let it get anything past that. And ask yourself, even with the George Floyd protests, has anything really erupted past people going to jail and, protesting and things like nothing? There's been no real changes. So We ask, what do white people who get BLM get? Then I hope all of that answers the question. It's not what they're getting, it's what they're staving off, it's what they're avoiding, if that
Exactly.
makes sense.
Exactly.
So, yes, and William says, hell, I got Mein Kampf. Yeah, everybody should read it. It was Hitler's, one of his, what he called, and Nazis, their masterpiece. And it talks about how they think, and they still read that book. So, I mean, you got to see how the other side thinks.
Yeah, and if you're going to read Mein Kampf, you got to read the Communist Manifesto, because these are two ideology. How do you say it? Ideologies.
Yeah.
Ideologies that oppose each other, but they have so much similarity.
Right. And Robin says Patrice needs to be arrested for stealing all that money. She didn't lose no family member from police brutality. Yeah, she's a thief, period. And April Lane says that check ain't coming. Well, it's not coming anytime soon, because Black people, we don't have any unity. We spend more time fighting each other than we are trying to get on the same page. So you may be onto something with that. And Aquarius Queen says, Donovan, is that face Demetra? That is too cute. Oh, you're talking about the background.
Yeah, the background logo, yeah.
Yes, thank you. And the Pioneer says, sis, actually, it looks like to me the opposite. The police did the same thing that in that massacre they do in most school massacres, but all of a sudden their protocol of waiting is being called out now. I mean, yeah, how do you allow for 90 minutes children to be massacred? You know, it's crazy. And I also think there's just more to it. I think they purposely didn't go in there for a reason that it has not been revealed, but I think it's starting to reveal itself, because we're seeing a connection between Texas and Buffalo. So what's really going on? And Kid Grebo, he says someone called Talib a foreign flagger. I didn't see that. I didn't see that comment, so I don't know. I didn't see it. And I don't even know what that is. Angela says Spanish people are very much MAGA. Oh, you better believe it. And it's backfiring on the Democrats, because they think bringing all them over here is going to be more of a voting pool for them, but it's actually proven to be the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, the last two elections, it's been proven that almost 50% of Asians, 50% of Latinos vote Republican, period.
Yes, Jay Bubba, how you doing? He says, where is Ski Wee? They dusting off their chucks and pearls for the midterm election, because they're going to need it.
But isn't it so quiet, though? You don't, I mean, even some of my friends that are into frats and sororities, they are silent when it comes to politics. Silent.
Yes, indeed. The Lord says anything pro-ADOS is labeled xenophobic. Got it. Okay. So he said he was talking about someone that was actually talking about Talib Khalib. Okay. So hopefully we can get on the same page. William says the spotlight needs to be put on the Tide Center for the grifting of BLM grassroots. Yeah. I mean, why should they get away with it? Right. All right. So, and Sunlight says, is the government subsidizing Pinky's gun purchase? Serious question. How does poor alabaster trash have money for high power guns? Yeah, like I said, I think the answer is actually in what we're starting to see manifest, the connection between Texas and New York, because, you know, they were chatting. They said Texas former law enforcement officers were chatting with that of the Buffalo shooter 30 minutes before he did it. And they knew what he was going to do. So I think we're going to learn more and more in the next coming weeks.
And, you know, and then I want you guys to also think about whenever there's violence in these Black communities, notice that in these poor communities, that is a boom for developers. That's just a pretext to lower the property values in those neighborhoods. Like right now, if you go to New York, $5,000, I think, is average to rent an apartment in New York. Now, to other places, that's outrageous, right? But in New York, that's like average. The only place left that, and the Black Authority talked about this yesterday as well, too. The only place left in New York City to rent that's reasonable is in the Bronx or Brooklyn. It's the Bronx or Brooklyn. I can't remember exactly which one. So I think they go for like $2,100 or whatever. Notice the uptick in violence in that area. I mean, it's the same playbook. If you're from LA, we had the same thing happen here in LA. All the people that were displaced out of Compton and South Central, which is Maxine Waters' district. Demetra, you're from California. How many people that are Black actually still live in Compton? That's mostly all Hispanic now, mostly.
Yeah, it's about 6% Black people in California. Okay. So Samuel, how you doing? He says the situation in Texas now is all hands on deck. Now the politicians are fired up. ready to fight for gun control. The gatekeepers are in full force. Where was all this energy for Buffalo? Exactly. They frauds. They're frauds, and they're really showing their true colors that, white life, a life that looks white, is more important to their own. And of course, we're in mid-political, well, it's going to be political season for the midterms. And so now everybody's trying to play tug of war to use it for their advantage, right? So, but nevertheless, they don't care about Black people, and they should. All right, Moni says, I really think that they just wanted to silence this brother and kill him outright would be suspicious. But to do it in this massacre, no one was suspected family is going to have to put in intervention. And who is that? And Renfax, how you doing? He says, did the Uvaldi police have the body cam activated when they were acting like cowards? I'm not for sure, but you would think they would have, right? But knowing them, they probably said, oh, we forgot to turn it on. And Darius, you say these Black politics or politicians, I think you're trying to say, but they're lying, says can do whatever they want. I'm still not going to vote for any of them, period. Next, I'm not easily duped. And I'm glad to hear that, brother, because we need to wake a lot more people up. All right, so who else came on here? Let's see here. And Michael, you said 7 Asians killed in Georgia, 10 Blacks in Buffalo, and 28 in Uvaldi. And your comment cut off. Yeah, so Asians, and there was Asians killed in California like the same day, I want to say, or that same weekend that the Buffalo massacre happened. It was at the church. And Kara's rant, how you doing? Says the fact that NRA was able to still come down there and have their conference is mind-blowing to me. Yeah, it was like, who gonna stop them? They know they just out there hollering and screaming, hopping up and down. They ain't gonna bust a grape. They gonna, tap their vocal cords and then go back home. Pioneer says, Queen, your comments keep jumping because your show is becoming more and more popular and people are flooding the chat. Laugh out loud. With more popularity comes more responsibilities. Yes, indeed. I love it. And I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Facts, not feelings. How you doing? He says, peace and love, family. The place down in Texas where the shooting happened, a lot of them are MAGA code for not liking Blacks at all. They brag about their close-knit community, another code term. Yes. And then it said, too, that one of the parents said something salty. It's about one of the shootings. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember what. They're like really MAGA. Can't remember what it was, but they said something crazy about one of the shootings. And then God forbid they happen to be, a victim of one. And let's see here. And Neo Beta Alpha 13, how you doing? Says, we all know this to be true. The Buffalo shooting was an assassination to kill that Black security officer. All the others were collateral damage. That Uvaldi shooting was staged to take the focus off of it. He says the Buffalo shooting to keep us from talking about it. So what's the deal with the officer, if you don't mind me asking? Because there was an ex-Buffalo police officer who was a security guard for the Tops Friendly Market. He was killed. Do tell with that, because I didn't hear what angle there might be with that, if you don't mind enlightening us here. Stormy weather. How you doing? It says, don't forget Spain is Europe, who's enslaved the natives here in America. Very true. And Chocolate Girl, how you doing? And Angela Destiny, how you doing? He says, it's sad the parents were constrained, but now many see what Blacks go through with the race soldiers, aka killer cops. Kudos to that mom. Why become a cop if you're a coward, afraid to face a teen? I think it was more than that. I think they knew what he was in there doing. I think that it was almost kind of like, go do what you got to do type of thing. We're going to protect.
Yeah. They said that, well, again, the Black Authority covered this yesterday. He said that in the manuscript or whatever from the dispatcher, the students kept calling back and telling the dispatcher he's 2 doors down. He's 2 doors down, or the police were 2 doors down. Then they could have came in there and they did absolutely nothing.
Yeah. They said there were several calls from the children that actually got one of their teachers, their deceased teacher's phone to call repeatedly, and nothing. Queen L, he says, and hello if I didn't already say that, he says, I'm 67 years old and voting is not going to get us what we were old. They have been doing the same thing that they're doing now for a long time. Enough is enough. Yes, indeed. And Jessica Jackson, how you doing? It says, Black people get spooked by the Democrats a long time ago to be fearful of Republicans, period. Yeah, because they paint them out to be the boogeyman, right? Like, they're going to get you. They're going to grab your leg from under the bed if you don't vote for us. That type of stuff, right? Michael says 7 or 8 Asians killed in Georgia, 10 killed in Buffalo, 18 killed in Uvaldi, Black people and immigrants in those instances. Yes. And Lois says Black Lives Matter organization, not the grassroots, was created, overshadowed ADOS, activism for freedom, justice, and repair. That too. And Samuel, you say we got to put on our seatbelt. The Texas shooting may lead to the Hispanics getting a hate crime bill. Shoot, you know it. They got everything else, right? The agitator said that's exactly what Jay said. That's I don't know if that was a typo, maybe just me. And Bibling says that he said that I do not understand why Blacks didn't make Black unity happen. And I'm gonna try to catch up because I know I'm behind a little bit. So let me just scroll down to the bottom a little bit. Aaron, how you doing? Yes, remind me to talk about Grandmaster Jay and the NFAC. Don't let me forget about that. Easy, how you doing? You say hello, D and Donovan, back at you. And Robin says the Texas shooter was the same race as the kids and teacher. Not sure how hate crime would play into that, but I see them getting tangibles. Yes, indeed. That is an interesting angle because he was from that town, right? And people said this town is so small that we've seen him around, quite a bit. So Pioneer say Black Lives Matter was co-opted by white people through those 3 Black LGBT. I'll go ahead and say lesbians in California. It was started by some brothers in St. Louis area in response to Michael Brown's killing. So they co-opted it. It's not surprising because even the Me Too movement was co-opted. It belonged to a Black woman and white women took it over. And yeah. And you say, what was that book again? Mein Kampf. Donovan, can you put that in the chat and then I'll put it up?
Yeah. Mein Kampf, My Struggle by Adolf Hitler.
Mm-hmm. And Kara says, read the Wretched of the Earth and all what Demetra says makes sense. Yes, I haven't read that book, but I need to. I love books, you guys. Hey, Brother Todd, how you doing? He says, peace, Demetra and Donovan. Politics without economics is symbolism without substance. Black folks on these political platforms are definitely a symbol with no substance whatsoever. Absolutely. I mean, there's no money, there's no power, right? But that's why everybody else gets stuff because they have the money and they have the power and they get things to move. It's just really that simple. Thank you, Easy. I appreciate that compliment on my hair. And Moni say now, see, I seen in Detroit, in the Southwest Detroit area, where all of your elected leaders from Rashida Tlaib, Rashida Tlaib, is that her name? To Debbie Dingle would come and speak to Hispanics for nothing for Buffalo 10. Yes, indeed. That because they have a little bit more money in organization than we do, right? Lois says Garvey wasn't the real deal either. That's why he couldn't do what he proposed to ADOS, his own people in Jamaica. So if you can give me a little bit more detail, I don't want to speculate on what you're saying, but if you can kind of fill that out a little bit, I would love to try to respond to that. But just talking about Marcus Garvey not being the real deal, how did he get 3 to 6 million people worldwide to on the same page and talking about going back to Africa? How was he able to do any of the things that he did if he wasn't the real deal? Because what Marcus Garvey was offering was tangibles. But we know that Black people unifying and actually doing something was not beneficial to that of white supremacy. So if you don't mind me asking if you could fill that out a little bit more. April says, they say they needed backup and weaponry. Yeah, okay. One dude up in there, right? And the Hula Gang, how you doing? It says, you looking cute, Demetri. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Mr. Coffee, how you doing? It says, the subway shooting, that's when the Black man went into the subway and shot it up. Horrible that he did that. He is caught, and I guarantee you he did not go to Burger King, and he will not be passing go. And they actually had to find him. So it wasn't like he got away, I guess, for a couple of days, and they actually found him or whatever. But
isn't it crazy how the shooter in Buffalo and other mass shooters that shoot up Black people, they get taken alive, and yet this 18-year-old kid, he was immediately shot dead. Judge, jury, executioners, just right there.
Yes, indeed. And William, you say, I wonder if the killer in Texas had white supremacy connections. Probably, maybe. He is an example of self-hatred. Good point. It's rumored that Hitler may have been a self-hating Jew, quiet as kept. Yes, he was. He advocated for the superior race of blonde hair, blue eyes, and he was the opposite of that, brown hair and brown eyes. And so, yes, that is the word on the street that he was that. And he, but that's why rhetoric and propaganda is so important to understand. Otherwise, you will fall victim of it, which a lot of people did, because common sense will tell them, well, dude, you don't look like who you're saying the superior race is. So what gives, right? But people fell for it. So very good point. All right, so my comments jumped up again. So let me try to get back because I want to make sure I cover everybody at least once or twice. Let's see here. And Jan Michael, how you doing? He says, where are all these personal attacks coming from? Or should I ask who's funding these people? Your last question, I think, is really the most important. Who's funding them? Like, who sent you, right? Jafia says, D, there are many Black foreigners and immigrants fighting against reparations for Black Americans as they had a hand in the making of America, right? Well, they don't want to see us getting a check. That if they ain't getting one, but as has been said, go to your government and ask them to pay y'all for what was done, in an ill manner to your ancestors. But don't try to begrudge us of ours. Arson, how you doing? You say, hey guys, late again. How are you two? I caught the end of Demetria's nice history, little lesson about the Big Six. What are the names of the two books with opposing ideologies you guys mentioned? So, Communist Manifesto. I don't know if it's maybe like a booklet at best, but it was written by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. And they actually was kind of like a prophecy, if you will. And they talked about a lot of things that would happen it was certain to happen, right? Like one of them was like, the rich, they liken the rich to the machine, the powers that be. And they said that eventually the working class, the proletariat, is going to rise up against the machine because, as you see now, we as a society and everywhere, really, we're being so squeezed out and everything. Gas is high, food is high. There's no formula to feed the babies if you don't breastfeed or whatever. So there's a lot of things going on. Housing is horrible. And so eventually it is prophesied within the Communist Manifesto that the poor is going to say enough and it's going to, overrun, and it's not going to be good for the rich. So Communist Manifesto and Mein Kampf by that of Adolf Hitler. Robin says he barricaded himself in the classroom with those kids. Some of those kids played dead and covered themselves in blood to keep from being murdered. Yes, indeed. Brother Reggie, how you doing? He says, greetings, global Black family. Yes, indeed. JW, how you doing? He says, do you think a government-sanctioned purge will ever happen? One of those purge movies, I don't know if it's trying to tell us something, but as I was watching that movie, I said that really could be the case. And it was The Purge talking about Black people. I don't know the name of it, but it might have been the last one or the second to the last one.
The final purge.
It was a trip. I suggest everybody watch it. Easy says, Donovan, you a military man in tactical training. You are trained to engage, active shooter, not stand around waiting.
Yes, I totally agree. But I was in the Air Force, and so we don't do that. We just go get our coffee and, do our little thing. But if you're Special Forces, Marine Corps, Army, infantry type people that have to have weapons like that, yes, you are trained to engage and kill, period.
And Angela says, I believe Black Lives Matter was organized to simply bring awareness. Every head of anything successful gets fat. But what awareness did it bring? If you don't mind me asking, what did it?
Oh, good. Sorry.
What did it bring? Like what did we learn? And did it help us as Black people move the ball forward? We can say, oh, we're glad that BLM came along and now we're better off. What was that?
Right. I just wanted to bring this up. Now, how many of you guys remember during the 60s and maybe what's her name, who's been around since the civil rights? Some of you guys that are civil rights era people remember this. Coretta Scott King wanted a bigger house. Okay. And, their family was growing. They already had 2 kids and she wanted a bigger house. I think he was still pastoring at the church in Georgia that Ralph Warren now occupies. And Martin Luther King told her, how would that look? Even though he had just won the Nobel Peace Prize, he donated to the organization and the money to the organization, supposedly. But notice this man was worried about how it would look to the movement and to the organization as if he went and got a bigger house, even though he was legitimate to do it. But he knew morally it was not right to do as he's trying to lead people in a direction or in a movement. So when people say, well, it's almost like a pastor pimp that says, well, pastors got to get paid too. Yes, you do. We understand that. But not to the detriment to where you're rolling around in Rolls Royces, you got 3,000 gator shoes on and you're doing all that other stuff. It's how it's supposed to look. You're not supposed to enrich yourself off the suffering of others.
Yes, indeed. I see a comment, Kid Griot. You say it's going at the Black immigrants show how weak Tariq and his foundational cult are. Be careful. So all I'm gonna say is be careful. And Cece, how you doing? If I didn't already. And Avery says, Kamala ain't no soul sister, no soul. She grew up in Canada and went to college in Cali. She went to college in Washington, wasn't it, Howard?
Yeah, she went to Howard for undergrad, but then she came to California for her,
Got you.
her stuff.
It says she's married to a troglodyte. Okay. White man, guess that's what you're saying. That good guy, how you doing? And Dr. Mordecai Cassius Marcellus Jones, how you doing? Says the tongue-talking Supreme Court has now made it easier to turn your unsaved parents into the FBI. Really, do tell.
Oh, so I think he's kind of saying that like the parents can snitch on you, but can't they already do that though?
I don't know. Aquarius Queen says, don't forget that one of the non-humans came to New York City with those needles. Yes. Yeah, and then I didn't hardly get any coverage at all. And JW, how you doing if I didn't already? Let's see who else is on. Godspeed says, you see how they stopped talking about Buffalo and made it about the Hispanics. Black people need to wake up. Yep, no, we just fall right in line, right? And Queen Abby said the Bronx is reasonably for now, and even $2,100 for an apartment, is that really reasonable? I don't know. Jessica Jackson says Compton and Watts. Letitia says I do pause. Why the fraternities never speak about politics? Do they? And I know they was very instrumental when Kamala was running, right? Sunlight says it's the Bronx. Brooklyn is long gone. Is that what they call Fort Greene now in Brooklyn, where white people are come and take it over, just like Harlem? And let's see here, Speedy Thunder, how you doing? It says Foundation of Black America is a lineage, not a cult. Okay, so you're answering somebody else. I'm gonna try to stay out of that conversation altogether. And Matt Brave Strong, how you doing? It says the security guard in Buffalo supermarket had created a hydrogen system to run his vehicle. Aha! So now we're seeing some tie-ins. See, I didn't know that. So okay, now we're getting somewhere. Pioneer says the Black Authority was talking about how the Bronx is only halfway affordable place in New York to live now, and how they're trying to concentrate Black folks there. Well, they're trying to do that everywhere. Why y'all think they keep throwing that term around, affordable housing? What is that really more than a project? They're trying to take it back to where we were before. We were all concentrated in the projects. What happened when places like Cabrini Green was demolished and dilapidated? Everybody went, and when they went out into their neighborhoods, right? And so in places like the Cabrini Greens or your ghettos, your project buildings, all that stuff is contained. And now you're hearing this, well, we're going to make this affordable housing so people can have a place to live and people can have, somewhere affordable. But what that really means is we need to corral all these Negroes back in one place so we know where they are, right? And Kara.
And make sure they got the right to Planned Parenthood.
Right. We'll put that right smack dab in the middle of the projects. And Carrie say they had thoughts and prayers for us. Yeah. And let's see who else came on here. JW, I saw your comment. Big Rich, how you doing? He says, I remember call Detroit. I think they call Detroit a rat hole. I bought my house for $5,000. It's impossible to my house here, or I think he meant to buy a house here, even in Detroit now. And let's see here. Aquarius Queen says rent is going up in the whole New York City. Rent is in the projects $1,350, which is high, right? So that's
ridiculous. You're gonna pay to live in Beirut? Jeez.
Oh yeah, believe it. Then April says it spiked. The rooms cost 1,000. Tenants must share a kitchen and bath. Yeah, and the 1,000 is good. My daughter, when she was going to school in San Francisco, and I think she graduated in 2018, I think it was. She was paying $1,100 for a bedroom with sharing one bathroom, and it wasn't even a full kitchen with one other person, or one bedroom.
Yeah, they're saying here in the Inland Empire, you could rent a room for about $800 right now.
Yeah, that's still kind of high. Robin says the white officers went in and got their children out and wouldn't let the parents go in to get theirs. Yes, I heard about that as well. That is absolutely crazy. Pioneer Sis, it says, sis, I've told you repeatedly that you're not going to wake up zombies. Those people are the walking dead. Well, as Marcus Garvey said, we're going to try to talk to those who are interested. Everybody else must be left behind.
Yeah, and you got to think about this, Pioneer, too. If those that are going to get it are going to get it, and those that ain't going to get it are not going to get it. But we could leave here with a clear conscience. We did everything we could. You know what I mean? So,
yes, indeed. Thank you, Brother Reggie, for that reminder. Love and appreciate you for that. All right, let's go down here. Who else Haven't I read a lot of? Letitia says we have got to start embracing each other's peace and love. Yeah, I mean, we have to. That's where it's going to start, right? But until then, it's crazy. Queen Ellie says 2/3 will not be joining us. And that's probably a really accurate number, to be honest with you. Chief Indian, how you doing? I thank you so much for the compliment. Andre, how you doing? Who else came on here? And Mr. Coffee says, Democrats only care about us when it's time to vote. Yep. And after that, it's like, beat it.
How many of you guys have seen that meme of the guy being thrown out of the SUV? The Democratic Party is in the SUV and they throw the black people out after the election. That's one of my all-time favorite memes because it's so damn true.
Pioneer says, since the father of one of the children killed had a tweet where he was praising. That's what it was. That's what it was. Praising Kyle Rittenhouse and how he was proud of him for walking around armed and confronting protesters. Karma is something. That's what it was. He was big up in Kyle Rittenhouse. Is like, want to change your mind now? I don't know. And
is karma real? Is karma real?
Well, why wouldn't it be? If you believe in the laws of the universe, you don't think what you put out there comes back. Do you honestly think that you can go around doing stuff to people and not have it come back to you? I don't care how big or small it is or how good or bad it is, or whatever it is, it will come back to you. Make sure that you do good because you will get it back. If you do bad, you will also get that back. If you read the Bible, it says that. If you believe in the laws of the universe, it says that. I mean, every law, origin of law, wherever that is, the laws of all of that, they say, do good. I mean, it's just the way it works.
Right, but I've been waiting on your sister for 30 years.
Have you been doing good?
Sort of.
Thank you, Angela. He says, I just hit the like button and I feel great. Yes. Thank y'all so much. Love and appreciate y'all for that. Carrie says, I heard the security guard was developing an alternative fuel for cars. See, now we're getting somewhere. I did not know that. Now that really needs to be explored and talked about. If that was the case, then
could it have been a hit to take him out excessively? Yeah, that's something to think about.
Everybody else was just a casualty.
And to get that patent and all that other stuff that would come with it, right?
Manolo, you said, spoiler alert, there will be no more elections. 5-month nuclear war starts in approximately 2 months. If it does and it hits here, how would we know?
Well. See, here's the thing. When it, and a lot of people say that. I'm not saying that it's not possible. You're dealing with people who love money. A nuclear war stops all of the money. Their money would be worthless. So I personally, as somebody who's a military person, will tell you that's not going to happen. I believe it's not going to happen because that would render their money useless.
We'll see, right? All right, so let's see. Moni says, well, you dig a ditch for one, you're going to have to fall in the same one. So everybody wants these people out, but I want to see the same energy when it goes back Republican again. No speech on that. Well, I mean, either way, we're screwed as Black people, whether Democrats or Republicans in office, but at least the Republicans don't pretend like they love us. They don't pretend that they're going to do anything specifically for us. I mean, the Democrats haven't really pretended in a while. We just give them our votes because we feel like the Democrats are the party of Black people, but they're not. And so while you say it's going to be horrible, or, nobody's going to make a speech about that, well, what would you like us to say to them if they get back in office? I mean, if Republicans and Democrats have been in office here and there, back and forth, since we've been in this country, and you tell me how Democrats being in office has been better than the Republicans being in office for us, Moni.
Right. Do you guys realize that during the 4 years of Trump, Black people made more businesses for themselves and got up off of their asses for themselves because they knew Trump wasn't going to do nothing for them. But, however, when it came to releasing Black prisoners and doing something to reform the prison population, that was all Donald Trump, the First Step program. He was one of the first people to ever do it, specifically addressing the issue with Black people. We're not big upping Trump, but what we're saying is this big boogeyman, the Republican Party and Donald Trump, made a lot of Black people, especially the younger ones, realize ain't nobody coming to save us if we don't save ourselves. And a lot of Black businesses were started within those 4 years, more so than the 8 years of Obama. Black president didn't do one damn thing for Black people.
Old School 23, how you doing? Since a lot of Latinos were saying disrespectful jokes about the Black people who lost their lives in the Buffalo massacre. Yeah, I mean, you got to watch what you say, right? Because, you just have to. It's never fun when it happens to you, right? It's not a laughing matter. And how you doing, Brother Joe Nell? And let's see here. April says, I live in Houston, Texas. Now, been there nearly a decade. I guess I say the rent crisis uh, long before it arrived. I think you said you saw it long before it arrived. That's what you meant. Yes, I noticed things in Texas is going up as well. It's crazy. It's almost looking like California prices. Letitia says, if they do not speak about ammunition, body armor, how power magazines, they're not serious. Well, it is said also that Uvaldi, Texas Police Department, they had just received the best body armor. They got millions of dollars in grants, and they just received a whole bunch of body armor that would stop AR-15 bullets and things like that. So they were well equipped. So the question is, why didn't they go in there?
We got to remember, body armor is only good if you're shot in the body. Most people go for the head.
Right. Pioneer says, Grandmaster J, oh boy, yes. Don't let me forget about that. Let me get down to these comments. Let's see, we're hour in. So I'm going to switch over actually. So y'all having some conversation about FBA. I'm going to stay out of that. One who cares, how you doing? Let's see who else came on here. Y'all calling Grandmaster J a paid agent. Okay, we're going to do some math, if y'all will. As soon as I get down to the bottom of this, Abdul, how you doing? It says, keepers and police assassinated the real members of BLM in Ferguson, Minnesota. Yes, a lot of those leaders are not here anymore. They are mysteriously, turned up dead somehow, right? So you're absolutely right. The real ones are no longer here. Good point. Uncle G, how you doing? He says, NFAC has been very quiet lately too. I'm going to get into that. Let me get down to the bottom. Easy. He says that officer in Buffalo had an energy patent with turning water into fuel, I believe. So now we're getting somewhere. I'm going to look into that. That is very, very interesting. And Anthony Harris, how you doing? So it's a shame that many of our people are more sorry for what happened to others than ourselves. It's programming, it's conditioning. We've always been that way since the plantation, to care more about massa than we do our own people. I mean, you think about somebody like Nat Turner when he was like, listen, y'all, let's get the hell up out of here. Let's do what we got to do. And of course, it was one of us that said, nah, I'm going to go and alert massa and all the good white folks, what they around here doing. I can't let them get away with this. So I'm going to go and because I just love white people. And I can't let these dirty Negroes get away. So, I mean, we've seen it throughout time. And so the point that I'm making is we have just really been conditioned to not care about each other, but care more about others. As you guys have always heard the term, the white man's ice is colder than ours, and the white man's everything is better than ours as far as a lot of us are concerned. Not us, but them.
What? In the big house? Oh, I'm going to have to burn the sheets. I'm going to have
to. Exactly. Pioneer says cis lesbian isn't a derogatory word. I know, right? It's just like we get so, I don't want to say frightened, but it's like, can we say that? Is that politically correct? So that's kind of where I was coming from. It says, so lesbian isn't a derogatory term since the LGBT community likes to compare themselves to our people so much. If you can't even say lesbian on YouTube, then why are people allowed to say black? Good point. But that's what I'm saying is like, gosh, can I say that? Is that wrong to say? Because, we get in trouble a lot for saying.
But yet the N-word isn't censored on TV or anything.
Right. All right. So I'm going to mosey on down to the bottom, but I want to make sure I get people's comments that I did not get. Let's see here. Bibline says, did they set that Buffalo massacre up to stamp out this invention? He wasn't young. Why didn't we know of that invention before the shootings? You raise good questions. If somebody can enlighten us, and I want to say Jessica Jackson says, if Marcus Garvey wasn't the real deal, why do we still talk about him and refer to his ideology to this day, rather you agree with it or not? Mm-hmm. Big man.
I have a one I want to read. Hot Bald One. Why are getting UVAD and Buffalo twisted? Those were children. What the F is wrong with y'all?
I don't see that comment, but I wanted to say this. So apparently maybe you came in last. I am not saying that that those children deserve what they got. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I think we as Black people need to stay focused on our people, because I tell you what, I guarantee you their community are not going to be falling out in the streets and wilding and crying around for our people like them. We always feel like because we talk about Black first, that's something wrong with us. That's another thing. If we say black, I love my black self, or black men, or black women, black is beautiful. Well, what about white is beautiful? Well, why didn't you say,
Doesn't
age?
all lives matter? We're talking about black lives.
I'm talking about black people. Is there something wrong with us talking about black people? Our people in Buffalo were murdered in cold blood as well. So why do we got to stop talking about them and shift the focus on somewhere else? We acknowledge what happened in Uvaldi, but do we need to stop talking about what happened in Buffalo because that happened? I don't think so. I'm just saying. And big man, 7917, how you doing? And say Andre, if I didn't ask, say hello. And M. Calibus, how you doing? Says, call upon your ancestors and other beings. This is spiritual warfare. Go within and reach into your powers. I totally agree with you on that. Brother Jonell says, clearly, a lot of white children are being raised from 4 to 18 in all manners of biased weaponry, mainly aimed at so-called minorities, just as sure as weapons are given to black youth to self-destruct. Black unity is black people's greatest defense. Absolutely. I love how you drew that analogy. One group is using it for other people and we're using it on each other, right? All right, so let's see here. The agitator says it should be ever so clear that politics will no more solve our problems than it did in the difficulties facing Israel during the bondage of Egypt, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, indeed. Okay, and Bo Tank, how you doing? Did you read that one already? Is that the one you read? It says, you notice that white people's not talking about Buffalo shooting because they know they're not going. They got to talk about white supremacy, who did the shooting. Yes, indeed. Okay, and welcome to the Back Cave. How you doing? It says, them foreigners also train black poor children in Africa to fight against us by paying for their education, playing as their friend. Okay, Artemis, how you doing? It says, go to Play Store and check out TVWS app to help build economic development. Okay, I'm gonna put this up here so people can look at that if they want to. And April says, go on, talk your mess, Donovan. All right. And Shane Candle, how you doing? He says, I also feel that the queen of the day is not working. How do you do it in time of the person color? They will quick to exactly in the state of Michigan. Debbie Dingo Rashida TV to support the Hispanic community. White did nothing. Buffalo chicken in no aspect. And I have a problem with that. You wanted to support with flowers now offering certain ways while doing nothing for black community. But at the end of the day, the idea coming to somebody area insane and your comment cut off. Okay. Abdul says, I keep saying the police, the people BLM is based off was taken out mysteriously. Yes, I know what you mean. The people who was doing the real work, right? And Beverly says, any blacks volunteering to go to Ukraine? Not this one. And Easy says, I believe the right is funding the shootings. Very could well be. I mean, we're starting to see some things manifest, right? And April said, be humble. Okay. And Lois says, on Garvey, the U.S. wanted to repatriate ADOS back to Africa after the Civil War. Interesting, Garvey showed up here proposing the same ish. But what happened with that? It wasn't, but why didn't we go back to Africa? What happened with that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. The main reason why we didn't go back to Africa was who was going to work the fields? Remember the system called, what was it called? Sharecropping. That's where they came up with that.
The sharecropping, you had the Jim Crow, you had the Black Code, you had the leasing, convict leasing, you had all of that. But I can't put my finger on what happened because, yes, they were talking about sending black people back. But to Donovan's point, and there was something else I can't put my finger on. So it's not like
and then the astronomical cost of shipping blacks back to Liberia. Who wanted to pay that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how Marcus Garvey, like how he, like, I guess I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. It's interesting. He showed up here proposing the same ish. Well, who had more of the power to do it, Garvey or the U.S. government? And if it was the U.S. government, why didn't they do it? I'm just asking questions.
Because if you guys don't really know, if you read some of Abraham Lincoln's writings, he was a staunch segregationist. He didn't believe in black men and black people and white people being equal. He was for, getting black people back to Liberia, but they came down to cost. Everything comes down to cost.
Yep. And Sydney, how you doing? Says the Communist Manifesto is a good. I think you may read a Mein Kampf are interesting reads. Absolutely, you should read it so you can see how they think, right? All right. And let's see here. Brother Jonelle says these attacks in this nation are sowing anarchy all over. Race war separation is the only solution and is booming more and more. As the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said, we are living in the unraveling of a great nation. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. I didn't see a comment, the agitator, about somebody said our culture being weak. I did not see that. Finances has seen the argument on both sides. A lot of Black immigrants are racist against Afro-Americans because of brainwashing in the media, but some are that way because of the way they see on the street. I mean, the same thing is true if you don't go to Africa. You believe what you hear. Oh, they living in jungles and grass huts, walk around. We've had it.
And the one white guy, Tarzan, can speak all the native languages.
Yeah, we even had somebody ask us when we went to Africa, are they living in huts? And then no. And then we see any giraffes running around. It's like
right. We were in a major city. So.
Okay. Monet says the Forever Purge movie, the annual purge, and starts and was supposed to stop, but the white supremacists kept going. They were taking out anyone not white. Yes. So is that the name of it, the Forever Purge? Okay, got it. Yanita, how you doing? Says as far as baby formula, parents need to go old school and use pet milk and carnation milk. That's what they did back in the day. All right, so let me get down to the bottom so I can get this other conversation. Sydney says halfway affordable in the Bronx, laughing my ass off. So you're saying, that's not true. And Ewing 71 says Black Lives. How you doing, by the way? Black Lives Matter was created to fail, removing all sentiment from the public from the plight of Black people. It was a step from the get up. Now the public will review our plight as a scam going forward. Very good point, because that's what people do, right? Like Black Lives Matter is a scam.
Mm-hmm. Man, have you guys noticed that whenever a tragedy happens in our community, it's almost like, who cares? There's almost like no sympathy because it's happening there, like Demetra showed earlier in the show, every day. We've got some kind of shootings going on in our community every day to where it's been normalized. Do you guys know they did a study in the early 90s, and they took like Palestinian children and they took African-American children here in the United States, and they compared the two and how they would react to certain situations. Do you know, if you guys know, Palestinians are being brutalized by Israelis over there, and they're in a war type situation. The same reaction is happening in the Black community is what they found. So the PTSD and everything that's going on, it's almost like a daily combat survival that we are in and our children are exposed to. So when tragedy happens to us, it's like, it's just another day. But let something happen to another community, like the Asian community. If somebody got shot up in the Asian community, that was all over the news here on KTLA, Demetra. That was all over the news. Let it happen to another group. Oh my God, what a tragedy. But when it happens to the Black folks, it's like, well, it barely even gets coverage, if that.
Yes, indeed. And Bogani, how you doing? He says, y'all got to go to Ukraine to get student debt money. Laugh out loud. I'm a pass. April says, beware of that affordable housing scheme. Your neighborhood won't look the same. Absolutely. It's a containment thing is what it is. Bo Tank, how you doing? He says, when it comes to the Democrats and the Republicans, it's all about politics to them, not the people. You better believe it. And Jay Luther, how you doing? He says, two-party system is theater for, I think that's the Democrats, or is that a Ram?
Yeah.
It says neither party.
Good cop, bad cop. It's the same party, same people.
Neither party gives a crap about you, no matter what color you are. That is very true.
Right, and you got to think about this too. Me and Demetra talked about this a couple of years ago. Why is it so easy for a congressman to go from one party to the next? If they're losing the election, they'll switch parties and they'll go, "Oh, I'll be a Democrat this time," and they just seamlessly move right over.
Yes, indeed. Free Mind, how you doing? Says karma is biblical. That's all. Like I said, depending on what you believe. Tiny, how you doing? Say right. And let's see here. Who else came on here? Alex the Great, how you doing? He says, I'm late. Nope, you are right on time. Harley Lynn, how you doing? You are beautiful as well. And then Manolo, he says, yes, the brother was the real target. Corliss, how you doing, Miss Mitchell? He says, you're one that probably have never been in California. Go sit your 2 cent ass down. So you're talking about somebody who made a comment on it. I'm going to stay out the comment section. I'm just going to read. And Neo Beta Alpha 13 says the Buffalo shooting was to cover up that assassination of the security guard officer, and the Uvaldi shooting was to take the focus away from the Buffalo shooting. It's pretty obvious because we are here. That is a very good point. I'm interested. Now, Pioneer says, I don't know if it will happen in a couple of months, but I do believe a nuclear war is near before the spring of 2020 for many reasons, one of which they say that Putin is very even deathly ill, really. So he's going to take all of us out, all of them.
He must have got that plutonium packet that he gave to those two other spies.
Alex, you say it hasn't. The Democrats, y'all got so many names for them. America, Black America Television News and Information. How you doing? It says, I noticed that every time there is a local or national election coming up, I notice some American catastrophe happens. Yeah, it's called talking points for them, right? Carrie say,
hey, you guys got to save democracy. You got to vote like your life depended on it. You know, the democracy's at stake. Isn't that what they say?
Yes. And Kara says, but Donovan, what are your thoughts about climate change? They are destroying the planet. And once that happens, their money will be useless also. Let me get to these comments to the bottom.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And then you can answer that just a second. And Jay Luther says, I think that's what it says. Jay Lucas, you say, focus on race is what the oligarchy wants you to do. Race is the doom spiral. Focus on community and acceptance and tolerance. I love it. All right. So let me see here. Just Gia, how you doing? I'm just trying to say hello to everybody that I missed because my thing skipped up. And I see somebody says Facebook user says, hi fam, Tracy, is that you? Because sometimes yours come up as Facebook user for some odd reason. All right, so this skipped up a lot. Ooh. There's so many comments, but I'm gonna get to it. Let's see. William, you say 2100 is low income housing in Los Angeles. Is it? All right, so let's see who else came on here. I saw somebody. Where'd they go? Alex, I'll read yours while I'm going to the bottom. It says, I heard the story of how a dude snuck in a gun in school. I was telling the people at the hospital I work in that something like that doesn't happen in Black schools because getting in schools, we pretty much get searched like TSA. We had to take hoodies off and go through the metal detector. But our thing is in the container for the X-ray machine while white schools are carefree. Yeah, because that would never happen to them, right? And Pioneer, we're going to get to talking about the NFAC as soon as I get to the bottom. I said that like 15 minutes ago, but for real. At HT Bald One, how you doing? It says, we are getting Uvaldi and Buffalo twisted. Those are, so you read that one already. Those are children. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Okay, got it. So Donovan addressed that. So I hope that helps. Easy says they didn't go in because they were cowards. Look at how out of shape most of those cops and DPS are. The only followed military code during academy. After that is donuts and free food. Very good point. All right, so let's see. We're gonna get into this whole little Grandmaster J thing. I just want to make sure I don't skip somebody who came on here. Just going all the way to the bottom. I think I'm good to the bottom. And then we can just start a new conversation. Anthony Spido, how you doing? Says, why compare Buffalo shooting with Uvalde shooting? One did not have 19 police officers in waiting in the hallway and Border Patrol tactical agents with children inside classrooms. Okay. And Ali, how you doing? Says, sorry, just coming in. How is my new girlfriend? I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
Starting bid, $5 food stamp, $5 credit.
Mr. C, how you doing? Says, laugh my ass off. Some of us are from here, not brought here. That's true. There are some Black people already in America. Some did not come through the Middle Passage. So very good point. All right. And I think I'm going to get to the bottom and starting at JB Law 24. It says Stockholm Syndrome. That's exactly what we have. Stockholm Syndrome. We sympathize with our captors, right? And all right. So Donovan, I'm going to start a new conversation, but let me know if you see something in the comments that I just need to read. All right. So I'm at the bottom. Sun Kisser, how you doing? I saw you came on here. Thank you so much, Marcus Guyton. Love and appreciate you. Sorry for forgetting. Pioneer says, Queen, you're not going to get to the bottom. I'm to the bottom of this chat. Laugh out loud. If you want to talk about the Grandmaster Day trial, you better go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so here we go. As you guys know, Grandmaster J. Johnson of the Not effing around coalition, if you will, NFAC, was found guilty on Friday of 2 counts, felony counts. One was aiming his weapon at a police officer, and the other one was something like in a violent manner or something very trumped up, right? So he had the trial. I think it didn't even last long.
Threatening manner.
It said violent manner. Violence is the
threatening
word used.
Yeah, threatening.
Violence. It was violent manner. Okay, so the trial went on for like 3 or 4 days, right? 3 or 4 days, something like that. So anyway, it was really just a sham. They wanted to get the brother. As you guys know, Grandmaster Jay was the leader of the NFAC, where he had hundreds of armed men and women, legally armed men and women, and they would go different places. Specifically, they went to that of Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was murdered, and they went to disrupt, if you will, I guess, a show of presence at the Kentucky Derby. I think it was in 2020. And they said, they being the federal agents, that Grandmaster Jay aimed his AR-15 at one of the police officers that was on a rooftop. But he is saying that I was actually shining my flashlight to see who was up there, because, you know, he gets a lot of threats and things like that. And in fact, prosecution used the video that they heard. Somebody called him and he was like, well, we'll find out where you live, and, you know, basically we'll deal with you, right? And so they use that as evidence of him threatening people and being violent and all that other stuff. And so they told the jury, basically, you know, all you need to know is that he aimed his gun at a police officer in a violent manner or something like that. And so that's what they convicted him on. So, of course, he and his team are asking for a acquittal, to be acquitted, because it was just really a sham, and the evidence did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did that. So when did that is, you know, pointing his gun up at a roof, it's plausible that he was trying to use his flashlight to look at somebody. Who's to say that he was really trying to aim it at somebody? But we all know that anytime Black people try to show some sort of a presence or dominance or try to protect ourselves, then they come on in and get rid of it, you know, consider them enemy number one. I've seen articles of them talking about NFAC were Black militant extremist groups, you know, that label they like to put on people. And they did the same thing they did to the Black Panthers. They did to Marcus Garvey and every other group that has tried to show a show of force or defense against white supremacy. They got in and got rid of him. And it should be said that he is looking at doing up to 27 years when he is sentenced on August 22nd. His team asked that he be given bond, but the judge said due to the nature of what he was found guilty of, I guess he mandatorily had to be brought in to custody. And so he has to wait for sentencing. Now, I'm going to say, just kind of from what I've seen of the trial, it's bullshit. It's bullshit to the 10th degree. You just tell the jury, oh, this is all you need to know. Like, it's supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's like, it's very reasonable that he wasn't aiming a gun at her. He probably, if it had a flashlight on the gun, it's reasonable that he was using it to look, right? And so they just found a way to just to gaffle him up. And I see people calling him an agent and this, that, and listen, I don't know, Grandmaster Jay, I don't know if he was an agent or not. But I want to ask y'all, what agent is looking at doing 27 years in Fed time? We ain't talking about no state prison. We're talking about federal prison, which is day for day for the most part, right? So what federal agent do you know was doing that? And what would be in it for him to say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and take this 27 years to do what? Well, what would be the point of that? And they said, too, in the courtroom, that his supporters that were there, they were distraught. They were crying and bawling and wailing and just, we love you, and just very distraught that, you know, they actually went down there to get justice for Breonna Taylor, because as y'all know, her case was and still is being ignored. And so they were able to get a meeting with the attorney general. I don't remember exactly what happened with that, but they were able to get some movement. And now for the last 2 years, we haven't heard anything about the NFAC or Grandmaster Jay. And now we know why, is because now he's locked up, going to potentially do 27 years. So.
Right. And then, you know, this goes back to what we've been telling people for years. Now, you're supposed to be judged by your peers. So I'm not saying that it would have made a difference because the white supremacy has a way of moving the chessboard and changing the pieces and cheating. That's why they can throw out a good person and throw out this person and throw out this person and throw out that person, right? But just think if a majority of us would answer those calls for jury duty. I mean, would these outcomes actually start happening? Would the outcomes be different? I can only speak for myself. I was the only Black person on a jury, and I was not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the person did it. More likely he did do it, but they didn't have the evidence that would convince me that he did because they missed a key witness. And because of my resistance to that young man did not get convicted that day. He might have got convicted later on down the road, but he didn't get convicted that day. But in cases like Grandmaster Jay and all people like this, I mean, look at the outcomes of these things. Who are on these juries? Secrecy in a democracy, a real democracy, is repugnant. Nothing is supposed to be secretive. These secret grand juries and all this other stuff. So if you get called to be on a grand jury, do you know because of Daniel Cameron, the AG of Kentucky, you could now ask for certain things and say certain things because his whole testimony for not getting Breonna Taylor justice was, well, they didn't ask me for that. They didn't ask me for this. They didn't bring that up. So now you guys know on a grand jury, you can ask for certain things or a certain outcome or a certain sentencing. So it's just something to think about. A lot of these outcomes that are taking our leadership out of command is being done because we're not showing up to where we're supposed to be.
Facts, not feelings. And I see you guys' comments. And as far as the trolls, I mean, I think people are entitled to their opinions. Some clearly have very strong opinions. As long as it's not too disrespectful, we ain't gonna really trip too much, right? And Ricky Raven, how you doing? And Riri Jones, I see you came into the chat. How you doing? So I want to address this. Facts, not feelings. You said Master Jade trial was an act of terror against the Black community, and that's exactly how I saw it. It's to stop this rise of the Black Messiah. Because Brother Phil and I actually was talking about this, and this is exactly what it is. It's to stop the rise of a Black Messiah, to stop Black unity, to stop Black people from thinking that, you could take your destiny into your own hands. And, all those people within the NFAC, they were armed legally. They weren't doing anything illegally, just like that with the Black Panther Party. And so you're 100% right. That's exactly what it was, to stoke more fear into Black people and say, you bet not. You bet not. Kyle Rittenhouse is running around here free as a bird after murdering people, but Grandmaster Jay didn't shoot anybody. And yet he's looking at doing 27 years. Y'all tell me. So let's see who else came up in here. Yes, and Beats by Dizzy. How you doing? He says, Grandmaster started NFAC. Is up to us to make it stronger. Yeah, I mean, and that's really the defining question. What next? Does the movement stop with him being incarcerated? Do people go back into our holes and, continue it? I mean, as American citizens, I say that in quotations, do we not have the right to protect ourselves?
We do. And then isn't it funny that we can financially support other organizations, but organizations like that, there's almost no financial support. So think about that. If they had the financial resources to continue to get members and people to take over to the next step, even if our leader is jailed, there'll be somebody else to take it to the next step.
Yes, indeed. I mean, and they say this, second, being able to bear arms is our Second Amendment right. So, I would say, I know in Texas, they say you don't need any type of paper or nothing like that to carry, but just do it anyway, right? That way you don't try to get caught up in those systems. But yeah, everybody who can should. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right. And ask yourself this, Demetra, why is it that there's only buyback gun programs in the Black community? So they can keep us disarmed.
Yep, absolutely. Keep us disarmed. I'm just trying to see who else is on here. You're welcome to everybody who said thank you. And LM3, how you doing? It says Daniel Cameron needs to have his chin checked like yesterday. Yeah, he's the AG in Kentucky. That's Mitch McConnell's lapdog, Yeah, he just, it's crazy. It is really crazy how there's been no justice for that Breonna Taylor. And some people say, oh, her family took the money and all that. But yeah, these cops, one cop was fired. No, he was fired, went to trial for shooting into the next apartment. He was found not guilty. In the same system that just found Grandmaster Jay guilty of aiming a gun, he's looking at doing 27 years. But a cop that shot into an apartment where a pregnant woman and her family were, he got off scot-free. So y'all tell me, same system, same state, same city. Pioneer says, I don't know if Grandmaster Jay was an agent or not. I know he did inspire a lot of Black people, same with Obama. So that was a good thing. Okay. I hear what you're saying. All right. So thinking space, how you doing? It says, plus white people have nukes. They have military. What are they afraid of? Well, because they know Black people, when we come into our right mind, it's over, right? And so there's value in keeping us asleep and keeping us scared and keeping us inferior in their minds. But the minute we wake up and say, you know what, it's do or die, it's now or never, then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and then within the military, white people make up about 48, maybe 51% of the military. So it's kind of like they're really outnumbered. And when I say white people, I'm kind of including the white Hispanics and the white Asians and the people who identify as that. So their numbers are very small in the military. So I'm not saying you got a Black man right now that controls the military, but he's a paid agent. He's the guy that gets his money. But a lot of people in the military, a little bit more than half, are people of different races.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Gia. Kyle Rittenhouse is free, wealthy. Been on a couple of talk shows, and he's their poster boy. If you can get away with it, Let's see here. Yaniti says, "I'm grandma, and I've never been called for I'm a grandma, I've never been called for jury duty." Yeah, I mean, it's important to serve on jury duty. We could just get one person of us in there to look at it objectively and say, nah, y'all not gonna see my brother or sister up the river just because you feel like or they look like, nah, we need some real evidence. Otherwise, I'm gonna hang this jury. Okay. Ain't nobody going up no river as long as I'm on the jury. I've gone to jury duty, but I've never gotten to sit in the jury box, right? So, and thank you, Beast Bite.
And once, the funny thing is, once I hung that thing up, I haven't been called since. Demetri, I haven't been called since.
So thank you for your service. Thank you. Thank you, Beast Bite Dizzy. We love and appreciate you for that. And thank y'all for your hard work for being here because y'all helping out as well. And Riri says, wait a minute. Every time somebody says Kyle Rittenhouse is free, you make it clear it was better for him to be killed than they were going to kill him. Do you not watch the trial at the videos and the pictures?
Oh, when he's going like this. I'm supposed to feel sorry. I can't. I'm sorry. Can't do it.
I just wonder what he was doing there in the first place.
Remember, he drove him and his mama drove there. So you get what you ask for.
Yes, Thinky Space. Says our community doesn't have those same factors in their community. So why should they police us when we should have separate processes and systems? Exactly. And Earl, if I didn't already, how you doing? It says Sacramento was given $50 gas cards for guns. Yeah, nah.
And that's crazy because a 22, let's say rifle, you're looking at least $250 minimum to buy the rifle, legally, if you're getting it legally. $250 at Big Five. And they want to give you $50 for a gas card?
Yes, indeed. It's CNG215. How you doing? It says all those minorities are white supremacists. Okay. Pioneer says, I still believe that our people should flood the military and join all the branches at every level. This is our country, and we need to get that training and authority and not let other groups have it.
Exactly. Pioneer, you brought up a good point. Do you guys really want to know why Russia invaded the Ukraine? You guys really want to know? They haven't been in a major war in almost 30 years since they got kicked out of Afghanistan. So the one thing about 9/11 that really worked in our favor as Americans is we have 20 years, 2 generations of basically people that have combat experience, that if something came up again, let's say we go to Korea or something, we'll get our ass kicked in Korea or China, but we could have a good showing. You see what I'm saying? Because we have experienced people. When you have experienced people, that does wonders versus somebody who has no experience. And this is another reason why Russia has invaded Ukraine. It's giving these guys experience in actual combat situations.
Exactly. Yep. Not one tear. He just, boy, I tell you, he that's the prime example of getting away with it, right? William says, where is the National Black Lawyers Association to file lawsuits on our behalf?
That's like saying, where's Auntie Maxine? Real quick, Ricky Raven says, voting changes nothing. Civil protests do. I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Ricky Raven, because we've been protesting for over 60 years and we're in a worse situation. But when we started going out there and burning police, and I'm not advocating that, but we're out there taking matters into our own hands, look how quick they were like, okay, we're gonna get you the bill. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. When we started doing what they were doing to us, the whole situation changed. Because if you got a gun and I got a gun, an armed society is a polite society. So if we both know that we might have a gun and there might be some violence here, we understand each other. There's going to be some dialogue here. Things are going to get done. But as long as they know you're going to just protest, look at what Jim Clyburn said. Why y'all he don't care. You guys go out there and protest all day. He doesn't care. They don't care. Protesting does not work. It worked 60 years ago. In the modern age, it does not work. Prove me wrong. Show me where a protest in the modern age, in the last 20 years, has gotten Black people anything.
Sun Kisser said they're killing the Black folks up in the military just like they're doing on the streets.
Yeah, did you hear about that Army sergeant at Fort Hood that she's saying that her life was in danger and they're about to discharge her, I guess. But she's saying that her life is in danger. And and especially at Fort Hood. I don't know what's going on at Fort Hood. I'm not an Army person, but there's been a lot of mysterious deaths there.
Thank you so much, Donna Means, for the super sticker. Love and appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. You guys, we do have a Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. If you want to become a member, different ways to help the channel. We love and appreciate you for that. And thank you so much to our members. Could not do this without you. All right, so let's see here. What else do we have? And Ricky Raven says the recent gun shop robberies are low-key white supremacist hits to strap up. Something's going on. The Pioneer says Black folks used to make up a substantial portion of the military, but they started implementing stricter standards like no felonies to purposely keep so many Black men out. Well, then there's the other part of your argument as far as why don't they join?
Yeah, well, and they do that is when they have to cut back. But when, like, we were going in Afghanistan, we had whole gang members in the military. I mean, they were taking anybody, as long as you're a body and you can shoot a gun, they were just going to take you. But again, you have problems when you do that. But now that these wars are over, they got to cut the fat and cut the trim, because it doesn't make sense to keep you on active duty when we can get a reserve or guard unit to do it part-time and do the exact same training on a part-time basis. So right now they are seriously cutting back, because once again, in the military, just like in the civilian world, as technology takes over jobs, you need less people.
Absolutely. So I'm just looking at some of these other comments, trying to get down to the bottom. Thinking Space says our community needs to make a distinct separation. I think he meant to say yes, indeed. Bogani says America was built on violence. That is the only language she speaks. Well, money too, but largely violence. Yep. But it says America has a love affair with violence and guns. So you're absolutely right. Sun Kisser says every time they pick me for jury duty, I get sent home for talking about justice and judging others. So other thing too is sometimes we got to fake it until we get our ass on that in the jury, right? Yes, I sure do. Yes, and get on there and be like, nah, I'm here. Let's talk about some facts. You know.
Right, and if you're in between jobs, try to get the sequester going.
Right. And Street Nasty Entertainment, how you doing? Says, yeah, in 10 days. Tanya says Black ex-military should police the Black communities. I totally agree with you on that. You know, walk around, hey, is everything all right? Y'all all right over there? Y'all keep it down. that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's funny because in the military, we were finding that all these white guys were joining into the military police brigades and all that other stuff, and they were only doing 4 years, maybe 6 years, and then they would get out. Because they were going to get that white supremacist job in the civilian world because you can make way more money. I mean, what, $100,000 and you have a high school diploma, and little bit about law other than arrest. So the military was having a high turnover in its police forces and its in security forces because mostly the white guys would go in and then they would get right out. But the black guys would usually stay or do what they got to do. So yeah, we got to start looking at that.
Dewan, you say protesting is weak. White supremacists use guns to get their point across. Donovan is spot on cowards. Yes, indeed. And Manolo says Babylon is falling. Yes, America is definitely that. Babylon. Riri, you said the child molester had a gun on. Oops. I lost my comment. Ew.
Riri had a gun on him while he was laid on his back. Like I said, you people, it's always you people, you rather see someone dead because of their skin color.
I don't even know where to go with that. Sunkisser says, yes, I've seen that. Sad the lady had to say if anything happened, she did not kill herself. Uncle G, how you doing? Says, how we forgot about Christopher Dorner and Micah X. Johnson.
Man, did you see all the resources that were used during Christopher Dorner when he was out here, Demetria? I mean, they had he had the whole San Bernardino sheriff shook.
And Riverside. He went to Anaheim, Riverside, Los Angeles, San Bernardino.
San Diego. Remember he went down to San Diego to the base.
Right down the street. Actually, somebody was actually killed right down the street from my mom's house. Somebody that he took out. And let's see here. Who else came on here? CNG 215 says what we need to do is get black coders to make a black site, a vetting process only we can access to build, use the site to buy land, then petition government for sovereignty to self-govern. And another thing that I'm going to do, Walter, who's on here on Wednesdays, Walter, he's going to start breaking down Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro, and some of that Dr. Claude Anderson that really tell us and teach us how to go about doing just that. I think the online thing is cool, but I think it leaves room for infiltration, if you will. So I think those things that we're going to have to start doing with people we could talk to immediately, like our family members and close friends. You know what I mean? Earl says, I was Army, never stationed at Fort Hood, but people told me there's a major dirt going on there. Okay. Tanya says FBA is not a movement. It's who foundational Black Americans are, who we already are. I think you meant, okay. Feeding Frenzy 91, how you doing? Says, hello, God bless all. Yes, indeed. And back at you. Letitia says, Kyle was there to assist working for them. That's now or no. Harney says, don't forget the military and police departments are institutions ran by humans. These humans are often white and racist, but these humans can be replaced by other humans who are Black and just. What's taking so long? LM3 says, Grandmaster Jay was looking to go to the UN to file against the United States treatment of Black people. He was looking to get land. Yes, I did hear that as well. And so again, he's not here anymore. Well, he's here, but they're talking about, sending him away for up to 7 years, what I think is absolute nonsense. Anonymous Professor, how you doing? Says, please study the Manchurian Candidate. Yes, indeed. There's a whole lot of those are running around. And JB Law 24 says The Purge 4 was a heavy film. So is that the one? The Purge 4? Okay, I'm going to put your comment up, Anonymous Professor, because I see you wrote it a copious amount of times in the chat. So I'll make sure that I'll put that up for you. And Letitia says, Russia has been in a few wars. We have been in many. Yes, indeed. All right, so I'm going to skip down to, I see you keep posting the Manchurian Candidate. What do you want us to study? Got you. Pioneer says, going back to the subject, the NFAC probably wouldn't have much luck challenging white authority, but they could have had a great career protecting certain Black neighborhoods from violence. And that's really what they were trying to do, serve as a form of protection. But we're going to see. We are going to see. And Kid Grebo. I hope I said your name right. Thank you so much for the donation. Love and appreciate you. Says foundational Black Americans want no smoke with Latino and Asian immigrants. They want to pick on Black immigrants that make up less than 1% of the population. Okay. I hear you. Okay, what else? You put up something new.
But that's the kind of stuff we have to get away from. The thing is, what I think he's trying to say is, there an issue between us and Africans and other people who migrate here? Well, yeah, there is an issue because they're putting their 2 cents into the reparations talk, gives the white man the excuse of not giving us reparations because they're like, well, how do we know who's who, and who's who? Here in California, the reparations talk is now based on lineage. It has to go by lineage. But now, let's say this. In Jamaica and all these other countries, Caribbean countries, and even some countries in Africa, they're talking about reparations from England. So would it be okay for me as a Black American to go over there to, let's say, Ghana and say, well, I need reparations too because I have the same color skin? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. Your issue is your issue with England. Our issue is our issue with the United States. Even though we have the same skin color, I don't think you deserve to get in any part of my pie when we don't have the same experience. And that's the issue. So whenever I hear these, these other folks from these other countries that come here, welcome. We're glad that you're here. But do not put yourself into an issue you have nothing to do with. You came here willingly. So, come and get all of what this white man has to offer, and that's the issue. So, it's kind of a touchy subject, but it's also kind of messed up because we have Jean Pierre, who's a press secretary. We can go on and on and on with all of these people who are not lineage-based Africans here in America that don't do jack shit for Black people.
That's why I say I stay out of it. I am a Pan-Africanist. I'm not into the division, if you will. I mean, I think that Black people all over the world need each other. That's the only way we are going to make it, right? Black people are divided enough, let alone us finding reasons to more reasons to be divided. So I just kind of stay out of that whole separation type of thing. Like Black people have a hard time separating from white supremacy, but we advocate so hard to separate from each other. Make that make sense.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you wholeheartedly. But my whole thing is whenever they bring that up, they're whenever people, Black, white, fundamental, whatever, you're creating more separation. You're creating more separation because it goes deeper than just, oh, well, we're 1% and they're blaming us. Like you said, Black people are having a problem all across this globe.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I just feel what's the point of doing all the division of, well, I'm this type of Black, you that type of Black, I'm that. It's just, we all Black. Police officers aren't going to stop you and say, okay, before I take you out of here, are you from Africa, Jamaica? Are you Haitian? Are you an American Negro? Because I need to make sure before I put these paws on you. They don't see the difference. White supremacy, they don't see the difference like we think they see the difference. You know what I mean? And we have just been taught the divisiveness from, from years and years ago, and we still do it. And now we're doing it to each other. Like I said, we got all the wherewithal separate from each other, but we don't want to separate from white supremacy.
Right. But what we need to do is stay on code, like you said, and put it like this. If I get my reparations check, I'm going to help you get your reparations check. That's how we should be looking at it.
Right. Well, I mean, they need to go petition their government, go petition their government where they, where the ills happen to them. But as far as in America, yeah, I mean, this is our money, and it just, I mean, even in California, when they're talking about giving reparations to American descendants of slaves, and you have other people, when I say other people, I mean people from other countries like Africa or whatever, they're entering the chat saying, well, what about us? And they're arguing pretty strongly about it, but people who have brought it up are like, nah, this is for people who are American descendants of slaves. This ain't got nothing to do with y'all. So y'all don't need to enter the conversation because You know, hell, they barely want to give it to American descendants of slaves. So you think they want to give it to everybody else? It's a diversion tactic too. But nah, go petition the people who did y'all wrong, just like we've been trying to do here for years. So that's really my whole take on it. Yes, Ricky Raven, Dr. Henry Clark did say we have no friends. Absolutely. Let's see here. The agitator, he says, Dimitri, I see your point, but it's not hard lineage based. It's simple. FBA or ADOS. Well, can I ask y'all a question? Since I'm looking to be entertained, I got a couple of more minutes here. What's the difference between ADOS and Foundational Black American?
Lettering.
Other than the lettering, what's the difference between ADOS and Foundational Black American? What is the difference?
There's really no difference.
So then why do we say that we're one or the other?
That's a good question. It all depends. I don't really know the difference myself. All I know is my lineage goes back to slavery. That's what I know.
I know. I'm saying because we use these call letters, to identify ourselves. So what's the difference between the both of any of them? Well, what's the difference?
Wouldn't that be the same as saying, okay, like you were born a Smith, but then you married a Johnson. You're still a Smith by birth, correct?
I'm just really trying to get people to really think long and hard about this. What's the difference?
Yeah, you're still the same. You come from the same soil.
So again, why do we need to identify with either one of them? And as far as, let me see, I saw somebody's comment here, and I'm seeing you guys' comments. And Joanne, I hope I'm saying it right, says, Dimitri, that's only if they can prove their lineage from slavery, which they've already made sure you can't trace your ancestry. Oh, but they do.
Not true. Not true. You can trace the ancestry. We were property. All of this is in the Library of Congress. Those records are maintained and they are kept. And now they've even been digitized. So do not fall into that. They can't do it. How do they go back and hundreds of years on the East Coast, all those homes that go back to the 1700s, how do they know who own those homes? Because they have records. It goes that far back. So don't fall into that.
Absolutely. Okay, so Street Nasty Entertainment, that your comment is what I saw. And Sublime Prince, how you doing? He says ADOS is a Democrat front group. And then Street Nasty says ADOS is considered political movement supporting Democrats. Okay. So who came up with the ADOS movement? If y'all don't mind me asking, who came up with that? And I'll wait for y'all to put this in the chat. Who came up with the ADOS movement?
Well, wasn't that Yvette Carnell?
Was it?
Was it her and Tone Talk, the attorney? I know they were one or the other. So I'm not sure which group it is, but
I'm looking for somebody to put it in the chat.
Somebody said, who opened the door? Frank Nitty says, who opened the door to the classroom?
I'm just asking.
Dimitri's doing some teaching today. Thinking Space says, Africans need to stop being indoctrinated. That's why this whole thing got called out and have to go home, reclaim their land and resources. Well, a lot of the Africans are coming here because they see the resources that we do not take advantage of, that was basically set up for Black people here in the United States. And then they come in here because they are intact. They have a culture that goes back thousands of years. So they come back with a sense of who they are and they know what they're going to do. Whereas we come from chaos and creation because they never gave us anything. Thus, we take for granted some of the benefits that we have here. Because if you go to some of these other countries, there is no safety net. There is no welfare. There is no food stamps. So they got to go get it. And that's why when all these other groups come here to this country, they're kicking our asses because where they come from, they know if the baby need diapers, they got to go get them. So that's one of the things. Yeah, and some kisser says everybody got their hands out for our money.
I do see some troll stuff in the chats. Let me get rid of these.
I got rid of a bunch of them already.
The one that says not hot naked girls or something.
Yeah, I hit that one. Yeah, I got that one.
All right, let me see if somebody put it in here. Somebody says, ADOS was Yvette Tone. Tariq co-opted the movement and made the Foundation of Black Americans.
Right.
Okay. Now, so are they the founder, like the creator of ADOS, the whole idea of ADOS, or did they bring it back to remembrance recently?
Yeah, they brought it back. They weren't the original creators.
Yeah, this was going around for a while. I want to say 1990s or earlier. Now the new ADOS, yeah, that was Yvette Carnell and Tone, whatever his name is, Tone Talks. But this is not an original idea. It's not an original idea at all. In fact, Dr. Claude Anderson, maybe he didn't call it American Descendants of Slaves, but he was calling for reparations for Black people long before it got turned into this new modern ADOS, right? This is not new. This has been going on hell since they gave it to us after slavery and took it back. So this is not a new argument. Now this is something. See, this is how we got to be careful on this. I'm just going to speak my mind on this. The reason why, and I'm going to keep it real with y'all, and I'm not trying to talk disparagingly about any group. I don't identify with any of those because they become glorified gangs. Like the small amount of time that I'm on Twitter, I see people saying, well, I'm AOS, I'm FBA, and I'm this, you that, and I'm this, and you. And it's like, and all of that going on, what's getting lost in translation is what we want. Now we're so busy fighting with each other. I'm ADOS, I'm this, I'm you African, you this, you Jamaican. It's like, when the Negroes gonna wake up? When are we gonna wake up and finally get on the same page? Like I said, we want to divide from each other, but we won't divide from white supremacy. ADOS with Yvette Carnell and them, they got white people mixed up in their stuff. Yeah, it's the Democrats. I don't know what Tariq Nasheed's thing is. I don't really, follow Tariq a lot, especially as of late. I kind of like to do my own studying. I don't like for people to dictate how I think. But as I said, what I see now is like, it feels like gangs. Next thing y'all going to be doing is throwing up gang signs. What set you from? Y'all going to bump into somebody, you ADOS, now I'm FBA, or then what up then? That's kind of how I see it. It's gotten into silliness. But at the end of the day, whether you ADOS or you FBA or you whatever, you ain't got shit. You got 3% of $1.3 trillion. 3%. And you argue with another Negro about what they call themselves. And y'all following people who has Yvette, Tone, or Tariq help Negroes move the ball? How have they helped Black people? And I'm not speaking bad on them. I like to ask questions. How have they helped Black people move the ball forward? Because when we ask that same question of the Democrats, how they helped us move the ball forward, we come up with, well, they haven't. So we got to also ask these people who assert themselves as our leaders of these groups. When I say I'm talking collectively, when they assert themselves as leaders with these ideas that they have, how have they moved the ball? Have they moved it forward or have they moved it backwards with us arguing with each other about what step you read? Have we? That's all we're doing now. Do you have a dollar? Wait a minute. Do you have $1 more in your pocket because you run around here talking about you FBA? But ask yourself this. Now, this is where I'm going to step on some toes. Who got more dollars in their pocket for calling themselves FBA? Who's made more money off of that movement? Who's got more notoriety of the ADOS? Is it the people that's on the bottom, or is it the people at the top? So again, when you run around here repping your set, ask yourself, what am I getting for that? Mm-hmm. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, correct. That's why you don't see Yvette Carnell and Tone talk too much anymore, because what they're doing is they're setting up chapters across the country to move the ball forward. I don't know how that's going to run out, but every now and then you'll see her. She'll give you an update or whatever. But again, they're doing something behind the scenes. But they're structurally doing it
behind the scenes. And
they're setting up their organization. Yeah, they're setting up the organization.
Where they getting money from?
Oh, I don't know.
So you don't know. I'm not speaking to you because you threw the question out there. Mm-hmm. So they doing stuff behind the scenes. Why is it behind the scenes if it's our movement? If it's our movement, and I'm saying our collectively as ADOS, why the hell is it behind the scenes? And why don't you know what they're doing? And what did they do with the first chapter they set up?
Well, I don't even know if they set up the first chapter. I'm not even sure.
So why are they going around the country opening up more offices or more organizations?
Well, the last I checked on them, because I don't necessarily follow them like that. That's why you don't see her or Tone on much, because they've been working on getting the organization set up. So I don't know what they're doing.
Why are you personalizing? I'm not personalizing. I'm asking questions. And that's what we as Black people need to get in the habit of doing, is asking motherfucking questions. Excuse my French. But I get mad when we are afraid to question. In the church, what are we afraid to do? We're afraid to ask the pastor, where our money going, pastor? Or don't ask him, because if you ask him, the hole gonna open up and swallow your whole if you ask him. Hey, politician, I voted for you 30 years, and for 30 years, and I've got nothing for my vote. What are you gonna do for me? You scared to ask because you think something gonna happen if I don't support the Democrat, then the Republicans gonna come in. But we are afraid to ask questions. Now, I'm not taking this personally. See, I'm a very logical thinker. Unlike a lot of people, I think logically, and I like to do the math, and I like to ask questions. And if I am going to be a part of an organization, and especially if I am giving some sort of money or whatever it is to these organizations, I want to know what I'm getting from it. Just like when I went to church, I wanted to know where my money was going. Don't get up in the pulpit every Sunday talking about we ain't got money for the lights or stationery or to keep the water on, but I know goddamn well I'm giving 10% of what I'm making, and everybody else is probably doing the same. So I want to know what I'm getting from it. I want to know what's going on here. So it's not about me taking it personally. And we need to get out of the mindset that if we ask questions, then we taking it personally. If you ask questions, then you talking down on something. We should ask questions, because when we ask questions, then we learn more instead of just, oh, okay, all right, if you say so. You're going to learn something if you ask, right? I'm just asking. Like, we need to get out of that mind frame. It's bad to ask questions. Because you know who didn't ask questions? All those people are people that follow Jim Jones to Guyana. Most of our Black people follow a white man who talked and walked black to Guyana and drank Kool-Aid and had their joints snatched from their bodies, not wanting to drink the Kool-Aid when they realized he was taking them over there for his own self-serving purposes. You know why? You know why those people sold their houses and took their whole families over there? Because they didn't ask questions. You know why they did it? Because when people asked them to ask questions, oh, well, we trust him. He's our pastor. He would never. And they went over there and got innocent people killed that went over there to try to help them and drank Kool-Aid that was laced with cyanide. You know what? Jim Jones didn't even have the balls to drink the Kool-Aid himself. He took himself out of here with a bullet to the dome. So we need to get in the habit of asking questions and stop being afraid and thinking if I ask questions, well, then I'm going against the grain. Sometimes the questions you ask may save your ass.
Right. But also you got to ask the right people the right questions. So I can't speak for Yvette Carnell or anything like that. I can only tell you what last update I saw them do. So, but I know what you mean. You're going to the right spot.
I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm looking at some of these comments here, like Gentile killer. Say, Demetria, need to stop running that mouth and run that washing machine. What does that even mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, what does that even mean? Are we like, is something funny to you? Is Black oppression funny to you? You talking about killing white people, but you sitting up here talking salty to a Black woman who is asking you to ask questions. Matter of fact, you need to change your name from Gentile killer, because I doubt you even have the cojones to even do it. But you got the cojones to get up here and talk about I need to stop running my mouth and go run my washing machine, but you ain't gonna step to white people like that. Matter of fact, I never even met you a day in my life, but I can guarantee you $1 to a donut, you won't do it. I'm just saying. So we've been here 2 hours and 8 minutes. Any more questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I want some answers, damn it.
I mean, I'm just asking, like, why do we get mad that we ask questions? That is one of the biggest downfalls in our community.
Absolutely.
We are just like, I use this analogy a lot. Black people are that frog in the boiling pot of water.
Mm-hmm.
It's cold at first, and we're swimming around. We're doing backstrokes. Yeah, this water feels nice. Gets a little warm, like, damn, this water getting warm. But you know what? It's all good. It's cool. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do some more backstrokes, and it gets even warmer. Like, but you know what? We ain't gonna trip because we having a good time. Right? And then it starts to bubble, and it's like, damn, somebody put, is it a jacuzzi now?
Hot girl summer.
Hot girl summer, hot boy summer. Then when the water starts to boil us to death, then we're like, it's too late.
Too late.
Because you know why? We didn't really ask questions like, well, I thought this was supposed to be a swimming pool. Why is it getting hot? Is this supposed to be getting hot? What kind of bubbles is these? Should we want to get out of here? Like, we don't ask questions. And so because we don't ask questions, it becomes too late.
Just like the Jews in Germany, by the time they realized the ovens were already built, they were already hot. But last question for you. This is the last question for you. Your thoughts on Herschel Walker winning his primary, and give us a little thoughts on Herschel Walker.
And I'm just reading the comments, y'all. You know what? I'm not mad. It takes a lot to get me mad. I get passionate, especially because if we keep doing the way we keep doing them, we're going to stay right where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to stay right where we are. So as far as Herschel Walker, I mean, I don't care for Herschel Walker. I think he's an agent. He is being used. He can't string two sentences together. But I think.
But did you notice? I mean, to cut you off. Did you notice that a lot of he's one of the biggest fundraisers in the Republican Party right now, outside of Donald Trump. So he's getting a lot of his money from white Georgians and outside Republican groups. So what does that tell you in regards to him being an agent, or and they say in certain polls, he might even beat Ralph Warnock?
I mean, I think he's going to beat Ralph Warnock. You know why he's going to beat Ralph Warnock? Because it's a referendum on the Democrats. People are tired of the Democrats. Just 2 years ago, they turned Georgia blue.
Right.
You know, and then Stacey Abrams, she's up to her nonsense, talking to Black people, what we need to do. Oh, so you need us, huh? But when you get in there, you ain't going to be talking about Black people. You're going to be talking about everybody else. And so I think Herschel Walker is a referendum on the Democrats. Black people are stopped showing up because, especially in Georgia, in order for them to turn Georgia blue, they needed Black people. Black people in Georgia got the shaft, excuse my French, I should have thought of a better word, but they got the short end of the stick. And so maybe they're just not as ebullient to show up to the polls this time. They're like, if it's going to be Herschel Walker, it's going to be Herschel Walker. But I'd rather go with that devil than the devil that keeps lying to me, And so Ralph Warnock, he's, sitting in Martin Luther King's
a pro-choice pastor.
Pro-choice pastor.
Yeah, a pro-choice pastor. I was like, huh? How does that work?
He a pro-choice pastor. What he is, he's a panderer. He's a pandering pastor that is telling Negroes whatever they want to hear, so he can get back up in there and enrich themselves and help white supremacy continue being white supremacy. But how the hell are you a pro-life, pro-choice pastor? You're supposed to be advocating for life. Don't the Bible say, thou shalt not kill, and a whole host of other things? Then Jeremiah says, I know the plans for you. I knew you in your womb, and when you were in the womb, and so it's like, how can you advocate for pro-choice, which means they believe in abortion, and be talking the word of God? But you know why they can say that? Because they know Black people ain't gonna question it.
Yeah,
we ain't gonna question it. Black people, often we fall to the appeal to authority. He's a pastor, and he must know what he's talking about, because pastors always know what they talk about. Ooh, child, I don't question the pastor.
Yeah, but nobody questions the pastor when he's sleeping with the congregation and all his deacons.
He tell me to get up here and swing from the chandeliers and take my drawers off too. I'm gonna do it because that's what the pastor said. What's it saying in the Bible? Child, I don't care. Pastor so-and-so, he ain't gonna lie to me. So we don't question. So they think that, Ralph Warnock saying that he's a pro-choice pastor. Well, that I get, times are changing. It used to say that in the Bible, but we got to think differently now. They'll justify that nonsense. They should take his ass to task for even saying that and believing that Black people in Georgia are stupid enough to even think that's a thing. It doesn't exist. It's crazy. So anyway, y'all, I have run my mouth more than I usually do. Forgive me for that. I see everybody's comments on here. S.A. Smith, how you doing? Says, true, we are trained not to question leaders as long as what they say makes us feel good. Symbolism. Yeah, that's what symbolism is. Oh, it feels so good. They
Ski week, we got to vote. We got to get to the polls.
And see that nice to see them strolling to the poll, and they put on our favorite song, the wobble. We wobbling all the way up in to vote. We gonna stand in the line 10 hours, but we gonna wobble. We might get some
electric slide. That's electric slide.
Yeah, all of that is symbolism. Symbolism makes you feel good, but what did you get from it? Can I be vulgar for just a minute?
Just a minute.
What, Daddy? Plug your ears. I know you're probably watching. What the Democrats are doing to us as Black people is the equivalent of watching porn. Okay? When you're watching porn, you're not partaking of that. What they're doing, you're watching it. And so you might get turned on or something, but it's symbolism. You're not actually going to be able to do what they're doing. It's the same thing that the Democrats do to us. Well, we want to pass reparations. We want the HR 40. We're going to study it. And we get, they talking about reparations. Okay, did you hear what you said, though? They talking about reparations. They ain't talking about writing you a check. But they know that's all it takes is for them to talk about it. Just like that George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Utter bullshit. You know why it's utter bullshit?
Why?
Because it only applies to federal. FBI, Border Patrol.
See, but that also goes to our people not looking what's underneath the covers, or some of y'all, what's underneath the thong. You know what I mean? You got to look what's under there, because there might be some big things in them big draws. You never know. And a lot of people don't, like you said, it's symbolism for the simple fact that for 2 years, Joe Biden said he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He doesn't have the power to do it, but yet election time is coming up. It looks like it's going to be a disaster. All of a sudden he could do it, and it's only on the federal level. When was the last time you heard about an FBI person murdering innocent Black civilians? You don't hear about it because it's very, the federal level, they're very, very well trained, not superly well trained, but they're well trained better than the local levels. So you got to think about that.
Yeah, that bill is symbolism, but somebody will run around and try to pump it up. Oh, they gave us the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
Well, what I hate is the fact that George Floyd's family, they got paid and they're around there selling that bullshit when they should be saying this is bullshit, because their loved one wasn't killed by federal agents. It was killed by local police.
Right. And also they didn't get rid of qualified immunity.
Definitely.
It's all garbage. And the chokehold is not outlawed. They say they can use it. They didn't say that
as a last resort.
If you can use it as a last resort, it's up to their discretion. Like, well, it's almost like saying use it if you need to, right? If you absolutely have to. So you're still allowing the police officer to be judge, jury, and executioner. You're allowing them discretion. Why not just outlaw it? You know who they use it on? They use it on us, right? And so they did create a database that says that if a cop is fired, then it's in a national database that they can run it to see if they've been fired. But that don't mean
that doesn't stop them from being rehired. That doesn't stop them from being rehired.
So it does nothing for us. It does nothing for us. So anyway, I love and appreciate y'all so much. Thank y'all for being here. As y'all can hear, my voice is like, and I need to do a whole lot of videos next week and all of that. But again, guys, I'm not mad at all. I just want us, and I'm speaking to, when I say us, I do mean us, to just think a little bit more. Like, stop falling for the okie doke from the Democrats, the Republicans, our people who claim that they really have our best interest at heart. And I say this, if I brought up Dr. Umar's name right now, it'd be 452 comments in there talking about how he stole money from people, this, that, and the other. He probably did. I don't know. I don't doubt Dr. Umar. I don't know what he did. But we hold him to task for not getting that school up and running. But we don't hold everybody else to task for not getting their stuff up and running.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Love y'all. Thank you so much. Donovan, thank you so much for being here. Marcus Guyton, thank you so much for everything you do behind the scenes on Facebook. Thank you, YouTube and Facebook. The other side of the conversation is tight, but it's right. We might argue, we might fight, but it's all love. At the end of the day, iron sharpens iron. We learn from y'all, y'all learn from us, and that's the goal of this whole conversation. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having it. If we felt like it's a waste of time, we may not like or love everything that we say or y'all say, but you know what? Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. And if we're all stuck with our own opinions, we don't learn, right? So anyway, thank y'all so much. Y'all do enjoy the rest of y'all day and stay tuned for the videos throughout the week. Donovan and I have a podcast, and Walter's going to be back here to piss y'all off even more on Wealth Wednesdays with Walter. So see y'all later. Peace.